What's good? What's good? What's good, fans? Thank you guys for tuning in to week 289 of the Voice of the Fans podcast. Give yourself a round of applause for being here tonight. We got a lot to get into, man. We got some boxing announcements, some surprising boxing announcements, Cleveland, surprising boxing outcomes that we must talk about. Obviously, we're in the middle of the NBA playoffs, so some teams are winless. Some teams, as typical, play with their food and end up losing a game they have no business losing. And other teams are right about where they would be. On my projections, playoff projections, we're going to discuss that as well. And tomorrow night we got the NFL draft, Cleveland. Are you excited to see what your Seahawks are going to do with their new staff and how they're going to maneuver?
No, because I know what they should do. It's pretty clear. So,
Gino, they're going to get Gino some tools this season?
Gino has plenty of tools. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, you don't seem too happy about Gino. And once they get him another guard, another running back, and what Gino's prospects are for 2024 season.
Gino has plenty of running backs.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. But we're going to talk about the NFL draft, obviously, and what the Miami Dolphins. Could the Miami Dolphins be taking a quarterback at number 21? That's a question that we're going to have to talk about, and we're going to have the perfect guy to talk to address these issues, Mr. Tyler Dragon of USA Today fans. But before we get into all that, you know how we start the show. We start the show with the montage of what the show has been through. So we get the show started like this, and when we come back, we're going to play our numbers game. We obviously have This Week in History segment, and then we end the show with a quote. Unlike many other podcasts, the podcasts don't do that, Cleveland. Most podcasts don't educate you and give you inspirational encouragement throughout the week, and we end the show just like that. But before we do, we want to get the show started like this.
Am I speaking to right now?
Cameron.
My name is
Cameron.
Cam Buford.
Hey, it's Peter Rosenberg. I'm hanging on my man Cameron Buford right here.
I'm a Dolphin fan.
This is a big year for Tua to prove that he's a franchise quarterback.
I'm more a fan of boxing. Boxing is my main sport.
As a competitor, how much does that competitive spirit get in there and say, I want to fight this guy? I want to get some of this guy.
Of course, I want to fight all the guys. Of course that. But at the same time, like I keep telling you, it's a business.
Talk about that loyalty for a moment.
I'm staying there to try to make a change. Get back to the youth, get back to my community and show them that there is hope that you can make it out. Only thing is you just got to be dedicated. You got to keep your head down and stay on this course that you're heading towards.
Think about like this. The promoter pays the fighter. The fighter pays the manager.
Okay.
So the manager works for the fighter. The fighter works
for the promoter. Okay.
If you can see, you can believe.
So you are lifting weights currently?
When he said it's easier to score in the NBA versus Europe, did you agree with them?
To me, it's easy to score all over the world.
On your team, is Paul number 2 option or your number 3 option? On your team,
30 nights a year, he's my number 1 option. 30 nights. Can I finish? Do you want me to speak or do you want to conduct the interview and answer for me? Which one?
What do you think about this upcoming?
Like I was saying before.
Well, every game's a new game, so each one's a different experience, different defense, different players, different game plan. So.
Aaron, what has the game of baseball taught you?
One of the biggest things is being humble.
Can you give a message to the kids to kind of persevere through the false teachings they may be giving?
Patience.
Okay.
Patience.
As the show Voice of the Fan
Oh my goodness!
continues to evolve,
You were adding some spice to it.
it is strictly banter back and forth between myself and Cameron Buford.
I enjoy all of it.
Real ones know what's going on, right?
Like you said, Pacific Northwest, so I think it's a big part of my game, and every time I step on the floor, I just want to represent myself.
You play this game and you don't turn up winning a championship, then why are you playing for?
I'm happy for the Mariners. I'm happy.
Yeah, Cam. Nobody.
Never mind.
Go watch the tape. Go watch the tape, and then you tell me if it was all about just a system.
Look like a buffoon.
Go do your research. Go do your study.
I'm not caught up to you guys yet. I do
Real, real surprised at that, Cam.
Hey, give me. It's okay.
Oh, this guy.
That's what's good in sports, man. It's Big Snoop Dogg, man.
That's what's good in sports. Hey, man, thanks for making our voice your choice. You know how we do it.
What do you know? Hey, fans, some of those clips are so hysterical to me. Oh my goodness, the moment with Reggie Miller, he really caught me. You know, he really caught me. that was hysterical. Cleveland, we're gonna have some Bill Belichick news that might. I want to see how this hits Cleveland. I want to see how this hits Cleveland, and we gotta get into a Bill Belichick conversation later on in the show. And fans, what do you know? We're even gonna have a Mariners minute. First time in the Major League Baseball season, we're gonna have a Mariners minute tonight. It is. Believe it or not, we're gonna have a Mariners minute tonight, fans. First time in all of baseball season. So again, I like the Mariners. I like the Mariners. I want to give the Mariners some love. We're gonna have a moment to share give the Seattle Mariners some love tonight. Cleveland, how you feel about that?
Yeah, we'll have to see the tone of what you're talking about and how that goes. But I know that you're just being facetious, so that's fine.
What are you talking about? I'm a Mariner. I'm from Seattle. I ran the street to 206. I was down at I went to the Kingdom. Well, I have been to the T-Mobile Park as well. But that was more so to look at the views and look outside the stadium because I wasn't paying attention to the crap that was going on the field because it wasn't Garfield High School. It wasn't Franklin, Roosevelt, Blanchette. It wasn't Rainier Beach. It wasn't none of those schools playing, actually, performing on the field. So the crap on that field I wasn't paying no attention to. Nonetheless, Cleveland, thank you guys again for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans podcast. Let's give, you know what? We got to give a shout out to Cleveland for getting his technical difficulties corrected. Thank you, Cleveland. Welcome to the show, big guy. How's everything going with you this week?
Not too bad, Cam. So far so good, and just enjoying these NBA playoffs, and rolling, ready to, excited for the show.
Ooh, you want to jump right into the NBA playoffs, huh? As a Laker fan, I thought you'd be trying to duck that conversation, but here, this is the Voice of the Fans podcast, and we got to talk. The real is the real. We got to get into it, Cleveland. It is April 24th, 2024. Fans, thank you guys for tuning in to week 289 of the Voice of the Fans podcast. As I mentioned, we're going to talk NBA playoffs. We're going to talk the NFL draft. We're going to talk about some boxing. We're going to give you this week in history, fans. But we start each and every week, Cleveland, with our numbers game. When you think of the number 24, Cleveland, who wore that number the best? Or who can hear my first?
Cam, up here in the 206, there's been so many great athletes to wear the 24, from, Dennis Johnson to Ken Griffey Jr. to Marshawn Lynch, Beast Mode. Who comes to mind first would be Ken Griffey Jr., who were the best. It's a tie, Cam. It's a tie between Barry Lamar Bonds and Kobe Bean Bryant.
How many rings did Barry have?
Barry has no rings.
How is that a tie then?
He's a seven-time MVP of the league. The most home runs in the history of
fans, the hypocrisy started within the first 10 minutes of the podcast. Within Cleveland's first 2 minutes of the Cleveland talking, the hypocrisy already kicked in. And you'll know what I'm talking about here in a little bit. But he says Barry Lamar Bonds with 0 rings, I might ask. That's very key to point out. That Lamar Bonds has 0 rings. That's very key to point out. Kobe Bryant, he says it's a tie between Kobe Bryant, the 5-time NBA champion, and somebody with 0 rings.
He's only got 2 with the 24 on, though. Let's be clear.
Okay. How many more than Barry Lamar Bonds is that?
That would be 2 more.
Okay. All right. But he does have 5 rings, so right. If we look at the trophy case at the Mamba Academy, how many rings are in the trophy case?
There's 5 of those in there.
When you think of the number 89 fans, who do you think of, fans? Hit us up in the chat. When you think of number 89, who comes to your mind first, or who wore that jersey number the best?
For me, Cam, once again up here in the 206, there's been some great receivers, Brian Blades, Doug Baldwin, to wear the 89, but who wore it the best?
You put Doug Baldwin and Brian Blades category? Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm sorry to cut you off. Doug Baldwin with Brian Blades. Okay.
But who wore it the best is probably Steve Smith.
Mark Bavaro, Mike Ditka, any of those guys come to your mind?
Iron Mike is cool, but I think Steve Smith probably wore it a little bit better. League MVP.
Mark Bavaro?
He was never the league MVP. No.
Was he a Super Bowl champion?
He did play on that team. He did play on that team with Lawrence Taylor and Carl Banks and
was he a Super Bowl champion? Was the question?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay. All right. So once again, you want to give accolades to somebody with no rings versus somebody who has rings. Again, fans, that's a key. That's a key thing I need you guys to remember, because that will come up later in the show. I promise you. Come on, let's talk about NBA. This NBA playoffs, man. This NBA playoffs, and I mean, I don't know how you want to go. You want to go by some most surprising series, or you want to go by the most expected series? How do you want to? Do you want to go Eastern Conference, Western Conference? How do you? I'm gonna give you your chance. How you want to break this down?
Cam, I will follow your lead, whichever direction you want to go with regards to the NBA playoffs. I'm more than happy to follow.
Let's get this out. Fans, I am not a fan of the Boston Celtics. In fact, the Boston Celtics are making me really despise them. They're getting close. They're getting close to I've never had this. There's another team from Boston I absolutely do despise, but the Boston Celtics has just been whatever. But this Celtics team, led by Jaylen Brown, not Jaylen Brown. I take that back. I mean, there's some players on Boston Celtics I really like. I like Jaylen Brown, for example. I didn't like the way they the way they threw my man out the door and sent him to Memphis like he was a problem. Marcus Smart, I didn't appreciate that. I like Derek White. I'm a fan of Derek White's game. Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday gets paid. I'm a fan of Drew Holiday. I noticed intentionally left one person off that list. The Boston Celtics as the collection, Cleveland, are a very disappointing squad. A very disappointing squad. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you specifically.
Wednesday, Dan.
The Boston Celtics are a very frustrating, disappointing squad, Cleveland. Because I refuse to believe in them. I refuse to believe that they're championship caliber. And they showed it tonight by losing to the Miami Heat, Cleveland. How did the Boston Celtics beat them by 30 and then lose the very next night? How does that happen, Cleveland? Help me out.
It's unexplainable, Cam. And there's going to be some people that are going to have their heads rolling after this. I mean, you can't lose to the Miami Heat at home without their best player. It's unforgivable. It's unexplainable. And the very same thing happened last year, except for this is in the first round. So, yeah, this is embarrassing for the Boston Celtics.
I mean, can you imagine if Boston it just should not happen. As you mentioned, Jimmy Butler is I think he watched the game from 112, prime 112 down on South Beach. I'm at a loss for words, fans. I'm at a loss for words, and I think it's truly embarrassing. Is it coaching, Cleveland? You want to tell me it doesn't matter. You want to tell me coaching doesn't matter. You love to point that out. Is it coaching? Does Boston have that dude on there? And we're going to get to that dude reference later, a little later, Cleveland. Does Boston have that dude on the team? These guys just they just irk me, the Boston Celtics.
It appears that they don't have that dude, Cam. They have a candidate that's like auditioning to be that dude, but if you lose game 2 at home to a team without their best player, or without their best player really has a bunch of role players on their team, less Bam Adebayo. I mean, that's cool. He's very versatile and, made the Olympic team. Congratulations. But certainly not a player that should be carrying your team to a victory on the road in the playoffs.
Well, tonight it was Tyler Hero, Cleveland. Tyler Hero.
Oh, well, he finally found his stroke. I mean, he's been shooting it enough. Eventually it started going in, so good for him. I'm not taking heat. They're tough, gritty, in your face, man. They're not going away, and they take this all very seriously. And clearly the Boston Celtics do not. They read their own press clippings, and they stop far too often, and the playoffs is not a place to do that.
And you thought it was you thought I was being too hard on them, being too harsh on them. Even dating back to last year's playoff when they lost 2 games to the Atlanta Hawks in the first round of the playoffs. It just I'm stopped. I'm today, August 24, 2024. I'm no longer talking about the Boston Celtics. Here's the edict, Cleveland. They have to be in NBA Finals for me to discuss the Boston Celtics, unless something just out of the ordinary happens that's news or noteworthy. I refuse to mention the Boston Celtics on my podcast. Cleveland, can you understand what I'm saying?
No, and I understand where you're coming from with that. I mean, they continue to build themselves up just to fail at crucial moments and crucial times, and make things far more difficult than they need to be. And until they do something extraordinary, like you say, like make the NBA Finals, it's just be old news. And there's going to be some serious changes to be made over there. I mean, they've already committed, $82 million a year to Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday, and neither one of those players are supposed to even be their best player. So, I mean, if they lose in the first round, it means this, this formula doesn't work. So what are you going to do?
Enough of the Boston Celtics. Let's move on to a couple other teams in the Northeast. The New York Knicks. I think I asked you in December if you believe in the New York Knicks. I probably asked you in January and February if you believe in the New York Knicks. The New York Knicks finished with the second best record in the Eastern Conference, behind the aforementioned team that I refuse to mention anymore. The Philadelphia 76ers with them have lost in Joel Embiid for the last month of the season, the last 6 weeks of the season. And
I think it was more like 2 months, but okay.
Okay, last 2 months of the season, he comes back hobbled. He comes back shooting jumpers, refusing to get his the soles of his high tops into the paint, and get destroyed in game 1. Came back and had a nail biter in the Garden in game 2. Did the Philadelphia 76ers get robbed of Madison Square Garden in game 2 of that series?
Absolutely, like that bank in the movie Heat. Remember that movie with De Niro and Val Kilmer?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, they got robbed like that. Robbed. My first notion was just to say, post on Twitter the 76ers got robbed. But then after looking at the video a couple of times, I recognized that they were in the Madison Square Garden, and they couldn't help but show all the, Madison Square Garden. These guys, these New York front runners are just, they want to show everybody who I promise you haven't been to a Knicks game most of the season. All of a sudden, the Knicks are in the playoffs, and they have to come to the Knicks game. And they showed everybody from obviously Spike Lee and his crew, and everybody, all the other stars that come out to Knicks game. Tracy Morgan, he's been there in his little wheelchair. He's been to games. But then all these other people that they want to show, put up on the big screen, who again have probably been to 2 Knicks games all season long, or at this finals game. And with the ruckus crowd that Madison Square Garden is, down a couple points, my man Tyrone Maxey didn't know how to handle the pressure
He gets slapped in the face by Hart. Rolls around on the ground there. Hart sees him rolling around, and instead of acting like he no, I didn't touch him. I didn't touch him and everything. He grabs the ball and then kicks it to Jalen Brunson, who Cleveland. Do you believe in Jalen Brunson yet?
No.
Jalen Brunson shoots the 3, goes down by puts the team down by 2. That's when the foul happened. And then all of a sudden, see, Cleveland, you wouldn't know this, but the Los Angeles Clippers, they signed Mason Plumlee, Daniel Tice over the last couple of years, but they had Hartenstein on their team 2 seasons ago. Who, you know what I think about Ivica Zubac. You know what I think about Ivica Zubac. You already know that. When Hartenstein was on that squad, I was of the notion that Hartenstein was edging for Ivica Zubac's job. Now, I don't know if they got rid of Hartenstein because didn't re-sign him because they didn't want Zubac to feel some kind of way. But Hartenstein, the way he was playing with the Los Angeles Clippers, he was vying for a starting position on that squad. And then they didn't re-sign him in the offseason. I think it was 2 off seasons ago they didn't re-sign him. And then he goes to sign plays with the Knicks. So I know what he's capable of. I say all that to say I know what Hartenstein is capable of. That hustle that Cleveland you don't like to talk about, that you don't want to give any credence to, which again, fans, we're going to have that. That's a very important topic that's going to come up later in the show. Hartenstein goes in there and gets a rebound because Joel Embiid didn't box him out. And then what happens to the ball, Cleveland? Very reminiscent. Very reminiscent. What's up, Boots? Thanks for tuning in, big guy. Hope all is good. He was a great movie. He was a great movie. That was an excellent movie. Hartenstein, very Cleveland. I know. What was that reminiscent of to you?
Okay, well, first off, I think it's kind of corny the way you try to weave some LA Clippers, past news into the story that has nothing to do with the subject at hand.
It's very relevant. It's very relevant. It's very relevant. How Hartenstein made a very play.
Especially considering the way that you have already jumped off the Los Angeles Clippers bandwagon, not even, revoked your season tickets to the Intuit Dome. From what I hear, what on the street is. But let's get back to, let's get back on focus. Let's get back on point. They got robbed. And by the way, his name is Tyrese Maxey. He is the 6th man of the year. So, put some spec on his name. Don't say his name wrong. It's not Tyrone. It's Tyrese. So, he got grabbed and then he got pushed to the ground. Nobody said anything. It was a foul. And then when the NBA had a chance to review a little 2-minute thing, they said, "Oh yeah, we missed both of them."
Yeah, with the timeout,
the NBA already admitted fault.
Okay, true enough. But after that play, after he was fouled, Tyrese Maxey was fouled. I didn't call him Tyrone. After Tyrese Maxey was fouled, Hartenstein went in there and got the rebound, right? Because Joel Embiid didn't box him out. Cleveland. And so you're going to tell me that wasn't reminiscent of the ball being tapped out to Robert Horry and him hitting the 3-pointer over the Sacramento Kings?
There's no reminiscence of that whatsoever. That's not the same kind of thing. It's not the same kind of play, man. Don't again. Why are you trying to invoke this corny Knicks victory into some type of greatness or some type of analogy to what
it was very reminiscent. It was a very lucky play.
Man, no.
It was a very lucky play.
Everybody said they got robbed. The league even said they robbed them. So there's no need to keep going round and round about this. It was a lucky victory.
It's well known now. Years later, it's well known now that the Sacramento Kings were robbed by the Lakers because they had a ref cheating. They had a ref on the tape Oh, don't what David said.
I'm not quite sure why you're trying to go back.
I'm
24
just saying,
years.
you want to talk about what the NBA has already said. It's well-known public knowledge now.
Sorry. Isaiah Hartenstein is not the reason that the Knicks are going to win or not win.
How do the Sixers bounce back from that situation?
They go home, they win 2 games, and it's 2-2 going back to the Garden.
Whoa! They win 2 games in Philly?
Yes, they do.
You got me speechless now. 2 games. They will go home and win 2 games in Philly. Okay. We'll see. This makes it great to look into. One of the upsets I predicted in the playoffs. There's 3 upsets, and we'll get to a couple of them here in momentarily. I picked 3 upsets in the first round of this playoffs, and the first one we'll talk about here is the Pacers over the Bucks. Dame goes off for 35 in the first half of game 1. Doesn't score a point in the second half of game of that same game. He goes off last night for 25 or 24 25 in the first half of last night's game. Scores 8 points without Giannis, mind you, 8 points in that series. You want to talk about the Bucks? Or you want to talk about the Pacers? How you want to talk about the Pacers led by last night by Pascal Siakam? And they're able to win a game. Pascal goes off for 37 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. So they're able to even up that series, Cleveland. Granted, Giannis hasn't played the last couple of games, and we're not sure. I mean, reports are we're not positive when he's coming back. But Pascal goes off for 37, and Tyrese Maxey hasn't even got hot. Well, what's your thoughts on the Bucks?
So I think you're talking about Tyrese Halliburton.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
so
Tyrese Halliburton hasn't even got hot.
But I mean, this gets back to the poor decision that the Milwaukee Bucks organization made mid-season, firing their coach and replacing them with Doc Rivers, who clearly doesn't know how to draw up schemes to stop borderline all-stars like Pascal Siakam. There's just no way you can let him go for 37 in a playoff game. If Dame Dollar is doing his thing, man, get the most out of that. Get the most out of your other players. I mean, it's embarrassing. Again, very similar to the first game we were talking about, man. You just with the Celtics, man, you can't lose games at home that you're supposed to win. It's just makes it that much tougher on you. Anything can happen. Injuries, fatigue, attrition. You got to take advantage of it when you have it right in front of your face. So the mere fact they lost that game, and again, Giannis's return is to be determined. Yeah, that's a problem.
So you want to blame the loss on the coach. You don't want to give Pascal and the Pacers any credit for going into.
You can't let Pascal Siakam go out for 37 in a playoff game. That's just ridiculous.
Interesting. A man who fans for those of you who paid attention to the show for any length of time, you will frequently hear Cleveland tell me that coaching has little impact in the NBA.
Right. But if you're going to interject your coaching philosophy like a George Karl or a Glenn Doc Rivers, yeah, it can have an impact.
So you only can have an adverse impact is not what you're saying.
Correct,
coaching can only have an adverse impact in an NBA team versus any positive impact. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Man, this is hysterical. So Frank Vogel has had no impact on the 2020 NBA champions.
0. That was LeBron AD. Holding that team together in the bubble.
With their 3 months off, with the 3-month break.
All that heart and determination and pride for being.
Wait. Now heart and determination is a factor in winning.
When you're holding the team together, adverse the coach. I mean, Frank Vogel. You see what Frank Vogel's doing over there in Phoenix, man. He's lost. He's turning around looking for LeBron and AD, and they're not there.
You hear this guy? Oh my goodness, man! Please. Okay, so the Bucks and the Pacers. I mean, can Dame lead the Bucks to a series win over the Pacers?
I still think so. I mean, but he has to get more touches. He has to be, more involved.
More touches. He scored 30 points in 2 games. What are you talking about?
Right. In the second half, it was all kind of, first half kind of, I don't want to say uneventful or unimportant, but, he needs some more clutch baskets down the stretch for sure. But I think he's still capable. Yeah. I mean, they'll go to Indiana. They'll probably lose game 3. And so it's going to be up to game 4, tie it back up, come back to Milwaukee. We'll see what's going on.
So you got a tie series going back into Milwaukee. So it's going to be the best of 3 series. Will Giannis be back by then?
No one knows that.
Ooh, that's interesting. So that's I predicted the Pacers to win the series, and this is before Giannis went out. So I think I'm pretty good in that situation. I feel pretty good about the Pacers upsetting the Bucks here. And it's not going to be because of Doc Rivers, Cleveland, but Cleveland, that's what everybody's going to do.
If they lose this series, it most certainly will be because of Doc Rivers.
Okay. We'll see how things go. We'll see how things go. And we'll see how these basketball gods or what's your terminology for them? Immortal gods and very good players. I mean, we'll kind of break that down later. I want to know where Dame fits into your little category as well. So keep that in the back of your head. I predicted the Orlando Magic were going to beat the Cavaliers, and what I'm seeing in this series is the Magic aren't playoff ready. I mean, that's how I see it. The Cavaliers know what the playoffs is about. And in fact, in the NBA, you kind of have to shed some blood, right? You kind of have to have some real painstaking losses and shed some blood before you see any playoff success. Most often, you have to shed some blood. And the Magic haven't shed any blood to this point yet. Cavaliers have lost. They've had their face bashed in, and so the Cavaliers come into the series like, yo, we've been here. We know what this is about, and now Orlando Magic and Paulo, it's time to take this spanking. And Paulo and the Franz brothers, you guys gotta. This is big boy basketball. What's your thoughts on this?
So far, they look like they're just happy to be there and a little overwhelmed by the moment. And when they turn around and look at each other, everybody's in the same boat. Yeah, never been here before. Happy to be here. Can't believe we're here. Man, those guys are playing hard. Like, how do we match their intensity? How do we match their execution? And so far, they have no answers. All that stuff that had been working in the regular season isn't working anymore. And so they took those 2 L's on the road. They can take it back home and hope they can get some enthusiasm from the crowd, which will give them somewhat of an advantage. But hey, man, they look, like you're saying, they look a little out of sorts, and no one really to right the ship or kind of send them on the course for victory. So perhaps I kind of think the Cleveland Cavaliers understand the situation. They'll probably take care of business in game 3. The Magic will be very desperate to kind of save face in game 4, and then it comes back to Cleveland and they end it. I mean, if it ends up differently than that, it will just be because Orlando, rose to the challenge. But so far, it looks like a bunch of people in a locker room looking around at each other like, what do we do? And no one really has an answer.
No, because I can agree with that. And it appears as of this moment, I was completely wrong in the series. I thought the Cavaliers would slip up a bit, and the Dallas Orlando Magic would have enough youth, and they do have the youth, but I figured they can perform, not understanding what the moment is, but it looks like they are understanding what the moment is, and they're being told what a great season they've had, and Now you're in the playoffs. Now it matters, and now the pressure is mounting, and they're not responding. So we'll see if something changes when they actually get to Orlando. But as of now, it looks like that I'm gonna have that series wrong. So the Pacers over the Bucks is the one series I predicted, and I feel pretty good about that one. The Magic over the Cavaliers, I don't feel so good. As good as I feel about the Pacers over the Bucks, it's about the opposite of how I feel about the Magic and the Cavaliers. I don't think the Magic, like you say, you made great point. They're looking around at each other, and no one has the answers of how to get out of this doldrum. So I think that ends in probably 5 games because they're going to be desperate in 4. At least let's just get one game, right? Let's save face and let's just win one game, the final game on our home court this season, which they'll probably do. But then they'll be in trouble for game 5. So that's an Eastern Conference series, Cleveland. I mean, we got the Thunder right now, and the Thunder and the New Orleans Pelicans. Excuse me. That game, it was a squeaker. So to my surprise, I think to most people's surprise, and similar to the Orlando Magic, the OKC Thunder has players that haven't been. Well, they have Hayward, who's only has some playoff action, but I mean, what he probably played in some playoff games, but I'm not sure how he's been a determining factor. Not a lot of OKC Thunders have the playoff history. And so, however, they're just they got a better team. They got better players. But that was a squeaker in New Orleans, who squeaked into the playoffs. They fought tooth and nail. And if not for a CJ McCollum missed jumper, they lose that game, right? If he hits that jumper, they win that game and take home court advantage away from the OKC Thunder. Now, right as we speak, it's 40 seconds to go in the first half of game 2, and OKC Thunder is up by 14 points. Oh, excuse me, they're up by 16 points. So they're showing that there's a little different energy in the building right now. What's your thoughts on how game 1 ended up? And you can't say with the score I just gave you can't say that's a predictor of the series, but what's your thoughts on how the series may end out? Do you see Trey Murphy just hit a deep 3, so now it's a 13-point game. With 13 seconds to go, OKC is going to get the final shot in the first half. What's your thoughts on how this series plays out?
Well, it's very interesting, Cam. The more I think about it, the way you were kind of breaking that down, there's a lot of things going on there, right? So, they were lucky to win game 1. It looks like they understand the gravity of the situation in game 2, and they're going all out. I would not be surprised if they go to New Orleans and don't win 2. And don't lose 2. And have to come back for game 5 all tied up. That being said, now here's the caveat. New Orleans is usually one of those cities that when you get a professional NBA basketball franchise happen to be in New Orleans for too long, it'll kind of take its toll on you. But this team is younger and probably will not be susceptible to a lot of the traps that other NBA teams would be going to New Orleans, aka Giddey and Holmgren and SGA and Williams and Dort. They might not really just kind of fall into the gumbo hurricane trap, and they might just be locked in like, hey, we got some other things to take care of, some business.
He said Pat O'Brien's is a hot spot down there.
Not so much. They might just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna go to the hotel room and just stay here and watch film, and we don't really care what's going on in that French Quarter. So it could go the other way, but the way the first game went, I just really think that the Pelicans have enough to at least scare those guys. maybe not win the series, outright, but I wouldn't be surprised if they put together 2 really good games at home.
Wow. Well, you think the Pelicans going to scare them straight, huh? Scare OKC into their tapes, into their tablets, huh? Scare them into focusing in.
No. What I'm saying is that they're already be into their tablets, so maybe they won't fall victim to some of the traps that New Orleans could provide for other NBA teams.
I don't see New Orleans, especially if they get Point Zion back. If they get Point Zion back, who went out with that, I still think Adam Silver called it, called down there, called the scorers table, and said that team in purple and gold need to win this series, and then all of a sudden Zion out with a fictitious thigh injury, hamstring injury that no one's seen, because Zion went up, sprang up, and leaped for the lay-in, came down, he looked good, and he just kind of stomped to the sideline. Like, that was weird. He didn't even stop at the sideline. He went straight to the locker room, and all of a sudden it's a hamstring pull.
Well, I mean, he knows his own body, Cam. I think that he would have been out there.
Adam Silver. I mean, I didn't. Where has Adam Silver been? In fact, I haven't seen him on any sidelines, and they keep wanting to send all these reviews back to New York. I mean, to Adam Silver's desk. I mean, Adam, we got to talk about this. What happened in that call? Nonetheless, I don't see. I see surviving the series. I don't see New Orleans Pelicans. I don't see them. Being a threat is not the proper term I want to use, but I don't see OKC losing to New Orleans Pelicans, or being the 2-2 series. I don't see the potential for this being a tied series at all, whatsoever. The Timberwolves and the Suns. Now, you and I we agree for the most part, or have agreed for the most part. Maybe there's somewhere that I'm wrong. I don't think I'm wrong on that. I think we've agreed that the Suns have been underwhelming this season. Now, they turned it on late in the season, last couple of weeks in the season, to make a playoff race to get to number 6 in the Western Conference. Kind of safe. Won't even say that safe face, but they kind of turned it on to finish out of the play-in tournament, and they got into the playoffs. But they've been underwhelming. Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Booker. I think they've been all underwhelming. The brightest shot, you won't agree with this. I'm not going to even put this on you. But the brightest thing on that team, Cleveland, and you know what I'm going to say, but I don't think you really agree with me, because according to this article, and we're going to get to this article here in a moment. I know Cleveland is itching, chomping at the bit to get to this article. But there's an article Cleveland posted. It took some shots at me. I was kind of personally offended at this article, to be honest with you. But it's on the voiceofthefans.org website. And what's the name of the article, Cleveland?
What it takes to win an NBA championship.
It took some shots at me, fans. And all I do is work hard to bring you guys interesting, factful content week in and week out, whether it's boxing content, whether it's track and field discussion, the NFL, the NBA. I try to bring fans, you guys, some fresh content each and every week. But my co-host is taking shots at me in this article. I'm not exactly positive where that comes from, and I'm not going to let that get me down, because I can refute the shots that he was taking, fans. And we're going to have the discussion on this article later.
The article is irrefutable, so I can't wait to hear what type of holes you think you can poke in the theory. But please continue with what you were saying. I believe we were on Phoenix and Minnesota at present.
The Timberwolves and who are up on the Phoenix Suns. And again, I was talking about how the trio, the big three, I even hesitant to call this a big three. The trio of Booker, Beal, and Kevin Durant has been underwhelming. But there's been one bright spot on that team, Cleveland. Cleveland, do you know what I'm saying? You have to know what I'm saying. Well, let's see if you can pull it out. Do you understand what's the bright spot? I've been talking about this since he was signed. Unfortunately, what's been the bright spot, Cleveland? Since you don't like all of a sudden Frank Vogel is a nobody on that team now. They don't the last coach to lead your team, the Lakers, to an NBA champion. Now he's a nobody, essentially. What's been the bright spot of the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah, you're talking about Nurkic. I mean, he's been such a much more pleasant addition in the middle than DeAndre Ayton has been the last couple of years. His hustle and defense and rebounds.
I like how you try to spin that. You know, absolutely, that's not who I'm talking about. That you absolutely know that is not who I'm referring to.
Nurkic has been a very positive light in otherwise a very dark corner for the Phoenix Suns.
Exactly. Since he refuses to say it, I'm gonna say it right now. Grayson Allen has been a bright spot for that team. I told you that when they signed him. I told you that throughout the year, and now that he's gone, because he had the injury, he left the last game midway through the fourth, I think, with the ankle injury. Cleveland absolutely refuses to acknowledge anything Grayson Allen brings to the court. Absolutely refuses to acknowledge anything. A defensive guy who was one of the league's best 3-point shooters this season, and another guy other than Beal, Durant, and Booker that can put the ball in the basket. Cleveland refuses to acknowledge that, and I just wanted to point that out. And he gave me use of Nurkic. Come on. These guys are kind of stuck in a situation. Bradley Beal has an untradeable contract. Devin Booker, you're not going to trade him because he's kind of the longest standing guy that's been there. And, I doubt you might want to, as much as you want to break up this trio that they have going on, you're really kind of stuck. The owner is hell-bent on making some huge investments in the squad, but because there's a salary cap, there's not a lot you can do. I mean, you can offer Booker up, or you can tell Booker, let us renegotiate your contract. But why would why would Bradley Beal do that? They're kind of in a tough situation. I mean, they're kind of in a tough situation, and the collective is going to have to get better before the team is able to make any moves. With all that being said, Cleveland, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't recall if you said you believe in the Minnesota Timberwolves or not, but I didn't believe in the Minnesota Timberwolves to the point that they may actually be a factor in these NBA Western Conference playoffs. What's your thoughts on this series and how this series is breaking down?
No, I don't believe in them. They're taking advantage of some very poor coaching. Again, very similar to how Glenn Doc Rivers let Siakam go off for 37. How in the hell? I almost said a different word. How in the hell do you let Jaden McDaniels from Federal Way go off for 25, 27 points in a playoff game? God,
they don't have any defenders.
The same guy that's so mentally that he punched a wall last year before the playoffs last year and couldn't play in the playoffs.
People grow, Cleveland. People grow.
Now you can't let a player like that just go off and just ruin your whole season. Everything.
They don't have any.
That's ridiculous.
See,
that's poor coaching.
See, Cleveland, you gotta have some guys with some stuff.
No, man, that's poor coaching.
You gotta have some guys with some, some intestinal fortitude. You gotta have some guys that.
Tell me Anthony Edwards hit you for 46. Tell me Gobert was 27 and 20. Tell me Cat was 32 and 15. Don't come telling me McDaniels was 27 and 12. No, man, that's coaching.
Cleveland. Again, you gotta have some guys with some stuff inside them.
He ain't got no stuff inside him.
No, No. What you're missing is the Phoenix Suns don't have no stuff inside them.
Oh well, that's
for them to
actually
allow that to happen.
That's actually starting to show a little bit as well. But that's that starts from the top down. You know what I'm saying?
How you gonna say it's not for the top? Oh my goodness, you just want to take shots at Frank. You just want to take shots. That's what I'm. You just want to take shots at Frank. The guys, the trio of Booker, Beal, and Durant is not working. They need a point guard. They need Chris Paul on that squad. If Chris Paul was on that squad, Booker would be playing better. Kevin Durant would be playing better. Bradley Beal might even be playing better. But
would Chris Paul even be playing?
Would Chris
Paul even be playing? I mean, that's a very big if.
That's a good one. Providing he stays healthy, obviously.
Okay, well
they need a point guard. My point is they need a point guard and to run the engine. They need a point guard to get those guys the ball in their spaces, to identify who has a hot hand, to orchestrate the offense. They don't have that guy. Bill's not that dude. Devin Booker is not that dude. Kevin Durant, we know that. We've seen over the years, Kevin Durant needs somebody to get him the ball and for him to be successful. Tell me a team that Kevin Durant was on where he single-handedly dominated the squad. It hasn't happened since 2013 at least. When he won the MVP, 2014, 15, something like that. Even then, he needed Russell to get him the ball and help him, spark some fire, some fear in the opponents. That combination just isn't going to work. And whether they get, I can't even name the reincarnation of Bobby Hurley to come back and run play point for them. I mean, they need a point guard. And anybody who says they don't need a point guard, this series should prove them wrong and help them understand that they actually do need somebody to run a point, because that's not Booker can't do it effectively. That's not Kevin Durant's role. That's not Bradley Beal's role. Agree or disagree?
No, a point guard would be extremely helpful. Someone to orchestrate the offense and get people in position where they can be most effective and executing their highest and best use as players. It hasn't happened. Let us not forget they haven't really played that many games together, so they don't really know where each other wants the ball. Other than they all want the ball because they're all ball dominant. So there's only one basketball. So yeah, it's been difficult to kind of get them into positions to be successful, and that's I don't want to say that's what a coach is for, but this coach is not very good at that.
Taking shots at the coach, man, because they don't have the point guard is unfair. The coach didn't put the team. He's just coaching. The next series, Cleveland, I predicted you. I mean, you're gonna try to take shots at me, but again, fans coming into the NBA playoffs, I made my predictions. They're in paper. I voiced my predictions. One of the series I predicted the Pacers to beat the Bucks. That looks like it's happening. Another series I predicted the Magic to beat the Cavaliers. That's probably not going to happen. I also predicted Cleveland did too. He won't admit this, but Cleveland actually also picked the Mavericks to beat the Cavaliers.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. What are you saying?
You predicted the Magic to beat the Cavaliers. That was your upset that you saw in the playoffs before the playoffs. Are you changing your mind on that? You didn't.
No,
you didn't say that.
I did say that.
And the one series we actually agreed on, fans, was the Dallas Mavericks beating the Los Angeles Clippers.
Now hold it right there, Cameron. Have you texted Ty Lue yet and told him how you feel about his team and his squad and their chances for winning this series?
I'll see Ty Lue Friday in Dallas.
Okay, are you going to say? Can you for the show's sake, for the fans' sake, for my sake? Can you tell him to his face that you didn't think that they were going to win this series? And now that it's tied going on the road, what type of adjustments do you think you can make? Because it seems like you play better without Kawhi than you play with Kawhi. You didn't win the game when you came back.
That's flat out.
You have no answer for Luka or Kyrie.
That's not true at all.
I mean, but can you get footage of us, of you asking him that question, of you saying that? Something like this, Cam. Let me preface this real quick. Hey, Coach. This is Cam Buford from the Observer. I don't have you guys win this series when the series started out, and it's 1-1 right now. Do you think there's any adjustments that you can make going forward for the Clippers to win this series? I mean, I can email that to you in question form so that you can ask him for the fans.
I won't be able to phrase. I can tell you now. I can tell you now that I will not phrase the question as you just phrased it, but I will have to ask Ty Lue.
I mean, but somewhere in there it has to be. I didn't have any confidence in you guys winning this series whatsoever, and you didn't even leave with home court advantage. I mean, I still don't see you guys winning this series. Is there any adjustments that you guys can make to win this series?
I'll be able to ask the second half of that question. What adjustments are they looking for?
Okay, but you can't put yourself out there with your own personal opinion as to what you thought the Clippers were going to do.
Well, I make my opinions on the show.
You're unwilling to stand behind your word unless you're behind the curtain of the show, but in his face, you won't say it. Okay.
That's not exactly what I said, Cleveland, and I don't appreciate you
said the Mavericks were going to win the series.
I did. I absolutely did say that. Okay. I predicted before the series started.
Why would you say Ty Lue in his face?
I'm sorry?
Why won't you say that to Ty Lue in his face?
That I projected that the Mavericks win the series?
Yeah.
Again, I have to phrase it in a certain way that
why you have to phrase it anyway? That's your opinion. What's wrong with you just giving him your opinion? That's what I'm saying.
So you don't even know how this whole media thing works.
Okay. Gotcha. Because then you get shut out of okay. I gotcha.
So
you don't have that same interaction if you just tell somebody what you really truly feel. Okay.
So clearly
it's the access that you're concerned with.
So
not really.
Here you go. Here you go trying to take shots again.
It's the access.
So did you not hear the question I asked him in New Orleans a couple months ago when I asked that your team has been inconsistent and I questioned the competitive integrity? Is that on the culture and the players? Did you not hear me ask that question?
I did, and he didn't take too kindly to you questioning his competitiveness.
Okay, so that tells you I don't have a problem asking the man questions. And
okay, but that was that one time, and you saw the response. So don't go poking the bear. Okay, so my second question was, did you email Steve Ballmer and tell him your prediction? And I guess the answer to that would be no as well.
Again, I hope to see Ballmer Friday night. Man.
Okay, well, hey man, shake hands and put that fake smile on.
Hopefully I can get a shrimp dinner, maybe Papados or something.
Yeah. Put that fake smile on and put your Clippers hat on like you believe in them. Fool everybody.
This series here, I had the Mavericks just. I mean, Luka. I believe Luka is cold. I just believe Luka is too cold. I'm seeing a couple things. in this series and watching this series, and what I'm a little disappointed. What I'm a little disappointed in the Clippers in this series is when they came. Game one, a wounded animal comes into the series, right? And they played. They were up 30 on the Mavericks. But when you thrust a guy like Kawhi Leonard into the lineup now, the other guys aren't playing as freely, right? Now they're really okay. Now it's just Paul George and James Harden that we have to get the ball to, Now, when you thrust the NBA champion finals two-time NBA final champion into the lineup, you kind of got to cater to him a little bit more. And he was rusty, and he hasn't played in a month. So he comes in a little rusty, right? But you can't ease a Kawhi Leonard into the game. You know what I'm saying? He's going if he's on the court, he's going to be a factor. And so that kind of took away from what the Clippers were trying to do. That being said, we're gonna have to come back. We're gonna have to retest this conversation. We're gonna have to retest this conversation, fans, because right now we have to bring someone else into the show, and we're gonna have to jump into this NBA or NFL conversation. Excuse me, fan, because as you guys know, we have the NFL draft right around the corner. So we're going to bring on my man, Tyler Dragon, to discuss the NFL draft. Tyler, how you doing, Tyler? Give me a minute to kind of work this out. There we go. How you doing, Father?
I'm doing good. Don't let me interrupt the conversation now. What were y'all talking about?
Yeah, tell them all about it, Cam.
We're discussing NBA finals, man. I don't want to get you off topic now. I don't want to get you off topic, Tyler, because I would like to touch your track and field mind a little bit more than actually your basketball mind, because I saw a tweet from you the other day talking about how the Lakers are playing so great and so glorious, and then within 20 minutes later, I mean, I don't know what happened to that. What happened to that take? How things changed so drastically. But what we were talking about was the Clippers and the Mavericks. I predicted the Mavericks to win this series, and I was talking about my frustration of the challenges I guess the Clippers have integrating Kawhi Leonard back into their lineup after he's been out for over a month, and how they're he's not a guy you can say, okay, we're going to play you, we're going to start somebody else and bring you off the bench. Like, you kind of have to put Kawhi in the game, right? He's a two-time NBA Finals champion, so you have to give him that respect that he's now part of this scheme and program. But he was rusty. There was a lot of rust there, right? And that allowed the Mavericks just kind of have their way with the Clippers last night. How did you see that? Did you watch that at all?
I did watch the game, and Kawhi was certainly rusty. I just think the Clippers have a matchup problem with Luka as well. I mean, all teams do. But Luka really gets any shot he wants. It's just a matter if he makes or misses it. But I think that the Clippers are going to have a very difficult time trying to contain Luka, because he's one of the best offensive forces in the NBA. And when he goes up against the Clippers, it just seems like he most of the time has his way. And then on top of that, you have Kyrie Irving, who is as lethal as it gets in the NBA. So it's a tough series, but I like that it's kind of a classic 4-5 matchup. It's 1-1. It seems like it's going to be a competitive series, so I do like that. On side note, I don't like the shade from the Lakers from you over there.
I mean, what are you talking about?
It was some slight shade.
What is that series? We haven't got into that now right away. But I mean, slight shade. Have the Lakers won a game?
The Lakers haven't beat the Nuggets since since Obama was in office. It seems like so. I mean,
what are we talking about?
It's that.
It's going to be a sweep this series. I mean, since you brought up the Lakers, I wasn't going to talk to you about the Lakers other than that tweet I saw. Do you blame? Is it possible? I mean, no blame or not. Is it possible for LeBron to defer to his teammates late in the game?
It is possible. LeBron's done it before. LeBron's deferred to D Wade. LeBron's deferred to Kyrie Irving. LeBron's, deferred to Anthony Davis as well. It's possible.
Did
LeBron is 39, man. He ain't ego tripping like that.
You don't think so?
He's 39 years old. He's trying to win another chip before he retires.
Well, I mean, that's not going to happen. But you don't think
it could? It could. It may not happen this year. The Lakers need another star.
If it's not going to happen,
you're a Laker hater.
If it's not going to happen this year, you think it's going to happen next year?
If they get a star, it could.
If Kyrie shows up on the team,
I don't think they need somebody better than. I won't say better than Kyrie, but someone who can play defense better and can create their own shot.
So I mean, I'm sorry. What did D'Lo?
See, like, I'll tell you this.
Let me lift this up. What I mean, I'm.
Let me. I'll tell you this.
Better games that you can ask any guard to play. Any guard you can. D'Lo had a better game. One of the better games you can ask any guard to play. And if that's not enough, with Anthony Davis and LeBron doing his thing, I mean, what do you expect?
The difference between the Lakers and the Nuggets the last few years, because remember, the Lakers beat the Nuggets in the bubble to win on their way to the championship. It was a championship. They won.
Oh my goodness!
Admit it. They won.
I mean, that was a lifetime ago. That was a lifetime.
No, it wasn't a lifetime. Trust me, COVID's still around. I know we act like we forget about it, but it's still. But anyways, Anthony Davis was better than Jokic in the bubble.
When he had 3 months off. When he had 3 months.
No. But Anthony Davis was a better player then.
When he had 3 months, a 3 month break to get ready for.
But that year, Anthony Davis was a better player. Okay. Even the year after, you can argue Anthony Davis was a better player. The difference is Jokic has taken his game to a whole nother level, and he's better than Anthony Davis. Because remember, Anthony Davis and Dwight Howard, they gave Jokic all types of problems.
They had those two and
JaVale McGee.
Yeah, they can throw the three centers at Jokic then, and I'm not sure his game has grown light years apart. They just had three guys they can throw at Jokic to kind of neutralize him, and then again, AD can still.
I think he's got a whole lot better since then.
Okay, fair enough. But we don't have you on here to talk basketball. Actually, we got some basketball comment. I don't want to waste your time with that, Cleve. Okay. I don't want to waste your time with that, Tyler. Tyler, we got the NFL draft tomorrow. Mm-hmm. I've been itching to ask you this question because we talked months ago, I think, and you were very adamant that you were not a fan of Jaden Daniels. And over the last couple months now, I know there haven't been any games played. I know they've only had their private workouts and the combine, etc. Has your mindset changed on Jaden Daniels at all whatsoever?
So I don't remember saying that. You're gonna have to pull the receipts.
Well,
I don't. I remember saying that I wasn't high on Drake May.
You specifically asked. Do you remember what Jaden Daniels did at ASU?
Okay. So that is a knock of his. I will say that. However, Jaden Daniels kind of reminds me of Joe Burrow. How transferred from a different college, wasn't really that great. And 1 year at LSU, the first year at LSU, was decent, but not anything noteworthy, maybe considered a mid to second, third round pick. And then his final season wins the Heisman Trophy and is in the running to be a top 3 draft pick. And so I don't think you can put that as a knock against Jaden Daniels. I think you have to admire that and celebrate that and say that he has showed tremendous growth as a pocket passer, as an overall quarterback. And so when since then, even if I did say that then, since I have watched more tape of Jaden Daniels and seen him play exclusively at LSU, I think he's the second best quarterback in the draft behind Caleb Williams. And when I look at him, he's very accurate in intermediate to short throws, and he processes. He's a quick reader, and he throws with precision, and that is huge in the NFL. And if you can do that, you are going to most likely succeed. And the only question I have of him is his frame. He's slight of frame. He's 6'4", but he's skinny. And can he continue to ascend? Because he's had the Joe Burrow-esque jump from when Joe Burrow transferred from Ohio State to LSU. And this is the same thing. ASU to LSU. Same type of jump to at the top of the draft. So if he can continue to get better and ascend, I think he's going to be a good addition to the Washington Commanders. I'm hearing that Washington is going to draft him.
Isn't that so? I like what you said there because I too saw what he did at LSU his first year, and then the second year at LSU had obviously a Heisman winning campaign there. What I've become more convinced of is his timing and, as you say, his processing, but his ability to throw receivers open is kind of what I like, and hit them in the motion as Joe Burrow. Now I wouldn't have compared him to Joe Burrow, but I like how you broke down the comparison. Why I was so high at Joe Burrow coming out of college is that he was putting the ball in places where the receivers can catch and run. Like they didn't have to catch and go out of bounds. They didn't have to catch and go into the ground. They can catch the ball, continue in stride, and continue on down the field. And that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen this last year out of Jaden Daniels. And that's not sure. I have him better than a JJ McCarthy. I have him better than a Drake May. I'm curious to hear between McCarthy, Drake May, and Michael Penix Jr. How do you rank those three quarterbacks?
So you didn't read my quarterback ranking at usatoday.com. You just told it yourself because I literally just did that. But no, it's okay.
Wait, today it wasn't. I didn't say
it wasn't today. It was like a month ago. So I'll catch you.
Okay, fair enough. I got another question about an article I did read on USA Today from Taylor. I got another question about some of your work, but no, I did not read that.
All good. I was just joking. So Caleb Williams, number 1, Jaden Daniels, number 2, Michael Penix Jr., number 3, Drake May, number 4, JJ McCarthy, number 5, and I probably put Bo Nix, number 6.
So you're not believing in the hype in McCarthy. You're not believing in hype. Okay, we don't need to go there, but you have to explain to me how you have Michael Penix number 3.
He's the best thrower of the football in the draft. You look how the ball flicks off his wrist. He has the strongest arm. He throws the best deep ball. And look what he did with those receivers at Washington. I know those were Adunze and those boys, but you look how he played, especially last year for the Huskies. I didn't see maybe Jaden Daniels, but he was arguably the best quarterback in college football last year. My only concern with him is his injury history. So you have to have a solid offensive line to be able to protect him up front. But if you can keep him upright, keep him on the field on Sundays, I think he's going to have a good NFL career.
Before I refute that, Cleavon, go ahead and gloat a little bit.
Cleavon, what's up? You've been quiet.
What's going on, Tyler? Good to see you again. I 100% agree with everything you just said. And the more that you guys talk, the more that I feel like this draft is going to get a lot of GMs fired. Because when you're talking about the top quarterbacks,
Penix,
it's a lot of wishing going on. After Caleb, it's like you're just kind of wishing that they reach their fullest potential as quickly as is humanly possible. But in your heart of hearts, you don't even really actually believe that. So when you got Jaden Daniels going 2, and then you got either JJ McCarthy or Drake May going 3, I don't even think Drake May is as good as Trubisky was coming out of UNC. And then you got Bo Nix even in a conversation as being a professional NFL quarterback. I mean, that's just embarrassing.
I mean, he'll be a professional quarterback.
JJ McCarthy played for a team that ran the ball like 70% of the time. The only one of those quarterbacks other than Caleb that shows any type of arm ability whatsoever is Michael Penix Jr. And again, to Tyler's point, he's got the 4 injuries in the 5 years. The medicals don't look great. He's a little bit older, and he did play behind the best offensive line in football, literally the best offensive line in football. And the game where he got pressured the most was probably his second or third worst game of the year. So I think that added a lot of questions to it too. But if we're just talking about you can give him some time and some weapons, he's by far the best passer in the draft. But when you start reaching for those other quarterbacks, you're going to look at back next year and you're going to have to answer some very tough questions because they're not going to get it done.
So, Tyler, you want to refute that?
I have nothing to refute. I would say Jaden Daniels is a good thrower of the football. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but when you look how he throws receivers open, to your point, and you look how the way that he just reads defenses, I really do think that he's the second best quarterback in this draft, and then Michael Penix.
So, Tyler, come on.
What?
I have to give you this one. Cleveland. So Cleveland is a Husky, is a Washington Husky,
of course.
Right? So we watched those games. We didn't watch them together. Obviously, we're in different parts of the country, but we watched and reviewed and talked about those games. Cleveland, you know how I feel about Penix. Penix lost the Heisman Trophy because he couldn't get it done on the field. He lost it. He was in the winner. He was in leading the race in the Heisman Trophy. Most of the season, he lost it in the last 4 weeks of the year. Against the first game against Oregon, Cleveland, they played Oregon. Third game to the end of the season before they played.
He beat Oregon. He played well enough to beat Oregon, by the way.
They beat Oregon twice.
Twice.
They beat it by 2 points. They beat it by 2 points in the first game.
Down the stretch, he had some games where he didn't throw for as many yards and touchdowns.
It wasn't about the yards. It wasn't about the yards. It was about him taking over the game. If you're a Heisman Trophy candidate, you take over games.
Big number.
If you're a Heisman Trophy candidate, you take over games.
You got to take over every game.
Most games, and especially
take over most games.
I'm sorry.
He did take over most games. He was the best player in the field most games.
Against what?
I'm just saying your words.
When again, so I didn't watch.
Cameron, they didn't lose any games until the 15th game of the year.
Okay, so when it counted, then he didn't win the games when it counted.
Michigan was.
He won 14 of the 15 games he started this year.
Cleveland, I pointed this out each week as it happened, as the Heisman Trophy was slipping away from him because of his bad performance. Okay, he showed to me that he couldn't get it done. And you guys mentioned how he had the receiving core.
Get what done, Cameron? That he couldn't win because he didn't lose any games.
Absolutely, yes, he couldn't win the game himself. And if he has the best receivers that college football had to buy, because he had a trio there, it wasn't just a Doomsday. It was Polk and who was the other guy? With those guys, he was having challenges beating the Pac-12 teams. He beat Oregon. He beat Oregon twice. Yes. But the first time he beat them was by 2 points. Come on. And it was some of that was offensive coaching. Some of that was his offensive coordinator was making some stupid calls.
Yeah, a lot of that is just college football, Cameron, and how college football shakes out. And I don't know how much you really actually watched, Daniel, but quite a few of those games, a majority of his huge statistics came in like 3 or 4 games against teams that are not very good.
When you say Cleveland, you made a very good point that this draft is going to get a lot of GMs fired. I think drafting Michael Penix Jr. in the first round is going to get somebody fired. That's what I would have to say in response to. I was surprised you had.
I would think that drafting Michael Penix Jr. in the first round is less likely to get you fired than those other aforementioned quarterbacks.
Well, I can't.
If you start telling me Drake May is the third quarterback coming off. That's
not what I said. That's not at all what I said.
You're telling me JJ McCarthy is coming off in the top 10.
That's not what I said. Don't put words in my mouth because that's not what I said. But drafting Penix somewhere in the first round is going to get you fired. But I didn't want to make this all about Penix. Which, going back to the articles that you did read, Trey Hendrickson, why does he want out of Cincy? What's the urgency there to get out of Cincy?
He wants a long-term contract. He does have another year left on his deal, and he's owed $15 million this season. But he wants long-term assurance in Cincinnati. His deal runs out in 2025. It's similar to T. Higgins with the Bengals. T. Higgins does not want to play under the franchise tag. He requested a trade in March. However, the Bengals are unlikely to acquiesce to either of their trade requests. The Bengals aren't of the business in trading their best players. I think that's a direct quote from Duke Tobin before. So I really don't think that it is going to happen for them. And if I had to make an educated guess, this is probably T. Higgins' last year in Cincinnati. He'll play under that contract. He'll be disgruntled a little bit. When it comes to Trey Hendrickson, he'll stay as well. Maybe the Bengals ship him off after this season, but I see them both playing in Cincinnati at least for 2024.
So this is a make it or break it season for the Bengals then.
Yeah. I mean, they've already lost some talent. You look, Joe Mixon plays for the Texans now. You look at DJ Reader. DJ Reader was one of their star defensive players, unheralded defensive tackle. He's with the Detroit Lions now. And you go back to the year before, Jesse Bates is one of the best safeties in all of football. He's with the Atlanta Falcons now. Tyler Boyd, he's still a free agent. So, I mean, this stuff happens. You got to pay Joe Burrow. You're going to end up having to pay Jamar Chase. And you lose some of your key players because you got to pay the big guns. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, those are the franchise pieces. So you got to pay those people, and sometimes you have casualties on the back end.
You talked about the quarterbacks that I want to get that out there because I found that pretty interesting why teams are trying to get out of there. If it's just a contract situation with Trey Hendrickson, would he be is there another place that he's looking, or would he be willing to do a hometown discount if they came at him correctly?
He doesn't want to do a hometown discount. You have to look at it that, I mean, based on his production, you can say he might be underpaid. I mean, he's due to make $15 million next season. I mean, premier defensive ends, 20 plus sometimes. I mean, he had 17.5 sacks last year. So you can make a case that he deserves money. But in the Bengals case, they can't pay everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Especially when Joe Burrow's the highest paid player in the NFL as in terms of annual average. So
yeah, I find that interesting. Now, obviously, this is a heavy wide receiver group coming into the league here, and so replacing T. Higgins, if they're going to do it, they're going to have to do it probably this year, right?
I don't see the Bengals drafting a receiver. I think they draft 18. I kind of see them drafting, addressing their defensive line or maybe even their offensive line. I can see defensive tackle, offensive tackle.
Not even second or third round?
Oh, yeah. For sure they'll draft a receiver, but I thought specifically the first round, I don't see the Bengals drafting a receiver.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. But I think they're going to, if they foreseen they have Higgins for this season, that getting somebody else to fill in adequately, I think, was something they should focus on, probably in the second or third round. But what I was going to ask you about the receiving core, we have Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. Now, Cleveland is under the belief that if Harrison was Donnie White, that he might not be talked about as much in this early in the draft. Do you agree with this?
I don't agree with that. That's funny though. I mean,
am I wrong?
He's the most polished receiver, in my opinion. The way he runs routes, the way he catches passes. He's not the fastest guy, but he runs routes crisp. He has sure hands, and he knows how to get open. He plays just like his daddy, and his daddy's a Hall of Famer. So I think he's a sure bet at wide receiver. Now, I do think it's close between him and Dunze and Neighbors. And to me, it all depends on what your team needs or your team, offensive philosophy, because some teams, maybe Neighbors isn't the best fit, but when I look at Marvin Harrison Jr., he fits in pretty much all offenses. And some teams, maybe a Doomsday isn't an ideal fit, but Marvin Harrison, he can play X and he can play Z. Probably not the slot, but he can play in that outside on both sides.
What is your projection for a Dunze? We did a watch of his video a couple weeks ago, and my concern is that I didn't see him. I see him as a possession receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see him breaking away from no catch and runs, no big plays after the catch. It was clearly he caught the ball. He had the most contested catches in the college football last season.
Mm-hmm.
What's your projection for him?
So a lot of people have him going to the Bears. To me, that'll be a good addition. Obviously, they just got Keenan Allen, but
It'd be
Keenan
good for
Allen,
him. You get to learn from Keenan.
And Keenan's getting a little bit older, so the next year and a half, he won't have to be a star. Plus, you got DJ Moore, but I don't think he falls out the top 10. I can see the Bears. I can see maybe the Jets, or we might get surprised. He could go the Chargers at 5.
Oh, come on.
I think he could go the Chargers at 5. He's a scheme. I think he's a scheme fit for the Chargers.
Really? So when I was asking for your projection, I was meaning what type of player do you expect him to be? I expect him to be a possession receiver. Do you expect?
He's a possession receiver. He kind of reminds me of maybe a Hines Ward type of player, but I think he's a sure-handed receiver. He can out-muscle you, and he still has the speed to get open and create separation.
Cleveland, what do you got from Tyler before I ask him to comment on Harbaugh and the Chargers?
I guess my one question would be, do you see any standout stalwart defensive players? When I look around, I see a lot of question marks. I think Byron Murphy the second probably with the most upside, but I don't really see anyone else other than perhaps Latu from UCLA that's going to instantly have an impact on the defensive side of the ball. Do you see someone else that I'm kind of overlooking?
So I do like the two you mentioned, but I also like Dallas Turner. I think he's going to be a really good NFL player. In my opinion, he's the best edge rusher in the draft. And then you have Latu. Both of them going to be immediate impact players as a pass rusher. And then Murphy as well. I really do think if I'm the Rams, I try to draft Byron Murphy so I can try to fill the void a little bit left of Aaron Donald. And that would be my number one pick if it wasn't Latu. So any one of those two players, I think the Rams should target. But Dallas Turner, to me, he's probably going to be a top 8 pick. In my mock, he's going to number 8 with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons need an edge rusher. I think he'll be an excellent addition in Atlanta on that defense. So, yeah, those 3 for sure.
How is Latu's health? What is his health like? Does his health check out? Does he give you confidence that he'll be a player in the first round?
So it's kind of like that Michael Penix situation, but ironically, sadly, it's kind of worse because he was deemed like unhealthy to ever play football again. And then he transferred to UCLA and UCLA cleared him. And then he hasn't really had to worry about his health ever since. So I'm sure teams have done their due diligence with their team doctors to check him out thoroughly, especially that neck, which pretty much was going to force him out of football for the rest of his career. And that will concern me because any given Sunday, a wrong hit, that neck can, go back to where it was before. Knock on wood. Hopefully it does not happen to him, but that would concern me. But when I look at his production on the field and his athletic ability, his ability to beat offensive tackles at a variety of different ways, he's the second best edge rusher in this draft.
All right, before we let you go, man, thank you again for coming on. Give Tyler Dragon a round of applause. Let the people know where they can find you and see your work.
Yeah, they can find me on X. I almost called it Twitter. I still slip up sometimes. X, I'm at the Tyler Dragon on Twitter. And on USA Today, you can just search my name, Tyler Dragon, my author page. You'll see all my latest work on there as well.
Thank you again. I appreciate having you on and spend some time with us.
Of course.
Would you give us, now you were in the house for real quick question. Has the Chargers moved into their new facility, or are they still down in Costa Mesa?
They're still in Costa Mesa. I'll actually be there tomorrow for their the first round of their draft. First pick under the Harbaugh era.
Speaking of the Harbaugh era, what's your read? What's your feeling of the Harbaugh era? Now, we can't really argue with his track record or what's he done as soon as he went to San Francisco, a couple years later there in the Super Bowl. Goes to Michigan. It took him a little longer to have the success there, but once he got his team built, I mean, obviously they win the national championship. So, what's your read on Harbaugh? Why? I guess the first question I want to ask is not only what is your read on Harbaugh, but why is he able to be so successful? And then what's your impression of him after you got a chance to be at his opening press conference?
Okay, so that's a broad question, but I'll try to say this. So I love his coaching philosophy: be physical, smash mouth, run the football, run-oriented offenses. However, I'm conflicted when it comes to the Chargers because, to me, from the outside looking in and looking at what the Chargers have done, it seems like they're making a lot of subtractions with the passing game and a lot of additions to the running game. And so you have Justin Herbert as a quarterback, and he has one of the strongest arms in the league, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and you're literally stripping him of all his top receivers, and you're bolstering the running game. Now, I get it. As a former running back, my dad was a running back. I love running the football. I'm always going to be a proponent of running the football. But you also have to develop the passing game and be a threat passing. And when I look at the Chargers offense right now, Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson, that's one of the worst receiving corps in the league right now. So if I'm the Chargers, I'm drafting a wide receiver. Now, I'm hearing that they're probably going to go offensive tackle. I would not do that at all, especially with the top receivers on the board. But it's hard to argue with Jim Harbaugh's track record. And I hate it because I'm conflicted because it's proven to be successful, and I love running the football. As a former running back, you play me in Madden even, I'm going to run on you. So yeah.
if we can, let's break this down a minute. You would be opposed to them taking the offensive lineman, even though Herbert has this last season, he suffered a couple of injuries because they're unable to block for him. And so a couple of things. They brought in Gus Edwards. They just signed another running back. I'm having a brain fart who they signed, but it was a
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah, I was gonna say a non-factor, but he's
decent. If that's a big if, though.
You're right. He hasn't been, and this is year 5 for him, the 5 or 6 for him. So Gus Edwards, I'm not mad at, and I think Gus would be excited because now he does not going to have to share the backfield. He doesn't have to share the backfield with Kelly. That's not going to be
he's going to share with J.K. Dobbins.
Okay.
J.K. started over Gus Edwards when he was healthy, so
because he was drafted higher. He was the projection, the expectation he was going to be better than him. But since we've been in the league, he hasn't been. Edwards, I think, is looking for an opportunity to be more than a short yardage back, and that's what I would picture it. I bet that's what he's thinking. You can ask him that if you ever get the chance, because I bet he's salivating at the opportunity to be more than a short yardage back. However, I think I like Palmer. I like Josh Palmer. I like Josh Palmer. Is he the heir apparent to Keenan Allen and Michael Williams? No, but I like what he has put into the game. Johnston, I have an issue, and this leads another question: can you, if you can't catch, can you all of a sudden become? Can you give me an example of a receiver who had the rookie year he had, and then turn around and be not even a superstar, be a star receiver in the NFL?
That's funny. If you can't catch, I mean, that was harsh.
He had some challenges. He had some challenges.
He did. For
so
sure.
That's what that was. He was dropping easy balls, like easy balls in the flat. Balls that came to him in the flat, he was dropping them. Like that's one of those a simple catch and run. We're just trying to get you the ball so you can run and use the athletic ability. He's dropping those balls. So I can't think of an example of a receiver that has come in and had the challenging rookie year, but then was able to turn around. I mean, I want to say Jerry Rice, but that's not fair.
I think Devontae Adams had a challenging rookie year. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't dropping balls like that, but he wasn't very productive his rookie year. I mean, Mike Williams wasn't productive at all his rookie. Wasn't he hurt his rookie year?
Yeah.
So,
and so when he gets rid, I can understand that. I can understand passing on Mike Williams. He's making $20 million a year. He's only been playing half a year for the last 3 years. I can see that. Keenan Allen is a different question.
Yeah,
I think that speaks to the locker room. But then he's trying to change that locker room. So I don't know how that's conflicting, in my opinion, because now you have a veteran like him who comes and works hard every single day, and you're saying, Keenan, we need that money back, bro.
Yeah, if that's why I believe the Chargers should draft a receiver on day one, round one of the draft, especially number 5. If Arizona passes it, like trades back, and the Chargers have Marvin Harrison Jr. right there, I'm running to the board. I mean, even if you got to quote unquote settle for Neighbors or a Doomsday, that's your number 1 receiver right there. But yeah, when I look at Keenan Allen, so I get why the Chargers did it, but it's still a gamble because Keenan Allen, when you look at him, like not last season, but the year before last, he had lost a step and it was obvious. Last year, he had like a revelation type season, career highs across the board, but you still have that season before last year, and you're looking at his tape. How was he getting open this past season? Is he still losing his step? Is he still in decline? Is his career on the upward trajectory, or has it plateaued? Is it going down? He's going to be what, 31, 32 next year?
It probably plateaued.
Okay,
so that's your quarterback's best friend.
Yes, it is. But if now I'm thinking from Joe Ortiz and Jim Harbaugh's perspective. Sure. Bill Belichick used to get rid of players a year early instead of a year late. Yeah. Good coaches often do that. And when I'm looking at that, I can see why. Because Keenan Allen, I can bet you he's not going to have the season he had with the Chargers in Chicago. I can guarantee you that.
Well, weather is the number 1 component because they're going to be playing outdoors versus indoors. And on another day, we'll talk about the whether Chicago should build a dome stadium or not. That's another conversation. However, they asked him to take the pay cut. They didn't just say, "Okay, you're out the door." That says kind of like, we want you to be around, but just at a cheaper price. And Keenan Allen, obviously he's a veteran in the league, so he has the cachet to say, no, I want to give me what you owe me. But knowing that they was willing to keep him around doesn't say specifically like, we don't believe in you anymore. You know what I'm saying? So that was weird. That obviously he's coming in there to make a change. and you kind of have to ride with. Well, you have no choice to ride with the decision he makes. But that kind of speaks to the locker room. Like now you're gonna have to buy it. Now, I think some players are looking at like, okay, you get rid of one of the veterans and the stalwarts on the team. Like we need to show something, and I think a little bit he has shown. I mean, you kind of have to look at his track record to say, like, now we're not playing around. This is going to be a different team. Do you feel that? Have you guys? Did you go to minicamp at all? Did you go to?
You're talking about OTAs.
OTAs, yeah.
Yeah. I went to one of them. Yes.
Were you able to talk to the players at all to get the sense of a difference in the field in the locker room?
So it's not open locker room at OTAs, but from the players that spoke during media availability, they seem to be ecstatic with Jim Harbaugh. And from what I've heard, it's still remains the same. Now, everybody has optimism at this point in the year. All 32 teams, even the Carolina Panthers have optimism right now. But when the season comes and losses start mounting, then we'll see what happens, especially if the Chargers can't throw the football. Because not only did you get rid of Keenan Allen, you also hired Greg Roman, who has been archaic as offensive coordinator. So I certainly have questions how they're going to throw the football offensively, and to who, by the way.
Right, and to who. I think that's a bigger question. To who? And next time you come on the show, I want you to give me an example, and I'm gonna have to look up the numbers on Adams to see what his rookie year was before he turned into who he became. Because I'm really curious as to how a receiver develops, and can they develop into, again, I'm not saying a superstar, but just a productive player. And was Johnson just because obviously there were other receivers that were drafted that actually hit last season versus Johnson, who they missed on. I want to see if they can turn that around.
You can learn how to catch. I'm that. You can definitely learn how to catch. And Johnson, he was a body snatcher, and it seemed to me like he cradled the football, like he would catch it like this instead of like this.
Okay.
A diamond.
Yeah.
He would always try to do like this and body snatch it, and that's what was his problem. But with good coaching, you can learn. And Devontae Adams, I just looked up, had 38 receptions his rookie year. I think Quentin Johnson had the same amount as a rookie.
Okay, so there's some hope. See, Cleveland, there's some hope. If you look at the history, Cleveland, there's some hope. And Cleveland, we know another receiver who started off with how many yards? What was your guy up there, number 14 in Metcalf, when he had 50 receptions, who actually turns into a number one receiver. So we know you can.
I was going to interject that as an example of someone that kind of struggled catching the football. I remember talking to someone and saying, like, you know how Allen Robinson has this incredible catching radius? It can catch anything around his body. He's like, with DK, you have to throw it right to him, and he has to be looking and waiting for the ball. Anything other than that, he struggled with it. He's gotten markedly better over the last couple of years, but his rookie year, although he did, get over the threshold and, get me some rewards for it. Fans, you remember all about that. But he had a tough time catching, different types of routes. His rookie season, but he progressively got better. One thing I did want to mention about Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers is that hopefully he takes advantage of this 2 to 3 year window of opportunity draft wise, because Michigan has been such a perennial national program that he's had the opportunity to see all of the top tier talent from all over the country, whether they went to Michigan or not. He has the opportunity to do the same thing Jimmy did in Dallas, the same thing that Pete Carroll did when he first came up to Seattle, is tap into all of the other players. So perhaps, when he's getting these players in the 4th or 5th round, he knows far more about them than perhaps someone that just kind of is in your scouting team, just kind of, looking at film or whatever. He actually knows a little bit more about them. And in addition, I think he's going to find a way to get his running back from Michigan in the 3rd or 4th round. I think Corum might fall to him, and all of a sudden your backfield is a little bit more crowded. And at the same time, he's had an opportunity to, like Tyler's point, to get some additional weapons for Justin Herbert. So this is a good window of opportunity for him if they're going to make that. If they're going to make that leap, especially the first 2 seasons where he's super, super familiar with them. Yeah, we'll see if they can turn the corner.
Tyler, thank you, big guy. Thank you for tuning in, man. I know you got daddy duties to tend to, so we appreciate you for tuning in, man. Congratulations on the child once again. Happy anniversary to you. Let's give you a round of applause. Happy anniversary as well to you and the wifey.
I appreciate that. And Cleavon, by the time I come on next time, I'm going to finish your book.
Right on, bro. I appreciate
I promise
that.
you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to read. I really do appreciate it, man.
Of course. And Cam, it's all good. And stop hating on my Lakers.
Yeah, well, that never.
Oh, he may never stop doing that, even though it's a 17-0, record in LA.
Let the people know once again where they can find you.
At the Tyler Dragons / Lakers going to win a championship.
Thank you, man, for tuning in. Have a great one.
All right, talk to y'all later.
Later, man. All right, fans. I hope you guys enjoyed the little NFL content that we had to bring you based on my man's schedule. It's always nice to get in here and talk shop with one of the guys who knows best about getting it done, Mr. Tyler Dragon Cleavon. So you want to touch on anything he had to say real quick?
No, I think he made a lot of great salient points, other than the only thing that I'm seeing in this draft is that I feel like when we're done evaluating it, we'll be very high in what the receivers were able to do production-wise, and I think we'll be very so on what the other players are going to contribute, especially first round. I mean, obviously it's the NFL draft, and it's an imperfect science, so there's obviously going to be some diamonds in the rough. There's going to be some players you never heard of that turn into all pros, but I'm just not enamored with quarterbacks at all, other than Caleb. And he mentioned Dallas as an edge rusher, but I think it's just really, really thin at a lot of positions other than receiver and offensive tackle.
Still no movement on Jaden Daniels, huh? No movement on Jaden.
No, I went back through his stats, Cam. A lot of big numbers against really teams not very good. I mean, I know he's able to. I don't like to make analogies with regards to quarterback, but it's a lot kind of like Matt Leinart was that one year. If you just never get touched, and you have receivers that run 4.3s and just can get open against anybody, it makes you look really, really good. You just have to kind of get the ball to where they, kind of in the vicinity of them,
So Cleavon, just I know I mentioned this and I didn't have the numbers to back up what I was saying, and I didn't have the record, I should say, to back up what I was saying. October 14, the Huskies played Oregon, right? Number 8 Oregon. They won by 3 points. Okay. Against Utah, number 13 Utah. Again, I think it was more so against Utah that began the downslide. They beat Utah by 7 points. Oregon State, I think, is the game that I was pointing at, where they beat the number 12 Oregon State by 2 points. And Penix didn't have a great game these games. They against Washington State. And Penix is a Heisman Trophy winner. This is where he was leading the Heisman Trophy race going before they played Oregon State. They won that game by 2 points. Against Washington State, they won that game by 3 points. Sure, they won the game, but as a Heisman Trophy leader, these are games you should dominate, right? Like they did USC, 52-42. Now, I'm not going to blame them the 42 points because that was obviously the defense gave up the 42 points. against Oregon, number 5 Oregon. They beat them by 3 points. So yeah, it's a win. But I remember specifically against Oregon and Oregon State, some of that was the offensive coordinator making dumb calls. I will grant you that. And then they went ahead, they beat Texas, and then lost to Michigan. But right in there, that Oregon State, Washington State, that's where he lost the Heisman Trophy. And he went into that like convincing leader of the Heisman Trophy. And that's my problem with Penix. That's what I wanted to point out with Penix. And we talked about that as it happened. So that's kind of my issue with Penix. And I was very surprised that he had Penix number 3. Although I'm with you, I'm not a big fan of Drake May. McCarthy just didn't have to do anything. And I heard something ridiculous today that I hate to even bring up, but McCarthy going number 5 to the Chargers would be preposterous. It would be absolutely stupid. But there was some talk that could happen. I think that was a bet. It was a bet, and betting where it was a 1,000-1 that he 2 months ago that he would have McCarthy would get drafted that early, and it dropped down to like a 60-1 that he would go to the Chargers at number 5. I still think that's preposterous because there's more needs they have, and they don't need a backup quarterback. If they made that move, that would signal what you're trading. You're a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If they did that, so we'll see how things shake out. But I just wanted to look back at the why, and it's not that I'm down on Penix. Well, I guess I am down on Penix because those were games that if you were winning, you lost the Heisman because of those games. I don't know how else to say that. You were the Heisman favorite until those games against top 15 talent, which you should dominate if you're the Heisman Trophy, shouldn't you? If you're a Heisman Trophy candidate or leader, you should dominate those games, should you not?
I mean, not enough style points for you. That's fine. I mean, but that's not really how you evaluate what they're going to do at the next level. So, I mean, that Oregon State game was horrible weather on the road. The Wazoo game is the Apple Cup. It's a rivalry game. If you read my book, you throw out all the records when it comes to rivalry games. The next 2 games, he beat Oregon and Texas. Lost to Michigan. Put up 400 on Texas.
Where do you have him? So what's your doppelganger is what I want to say, but what is your I don't want to say
what's my comp for who Penix kind of
Jr.
reminds me of?
Yeah, what's your comp? He's not a McNair. He's not going to be a McNair type of guy.
Oh, okay. So career NFL wise,
he's not. I mean, Warren Moon. He's not that type of guy. He's not a Steve McNair. Is he going to be better than the dude from Texas? Why am I having a brain fart?
Vince Young. Oh, he'll be better than Vince Young.
He'll be better than Vince Young, the who won the Rookie of the Year award.
Yeah.
He'll be better than Vince Young.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Vince had spent a little bit too much time at the Applebee's and the the Outback Steakhouse. I think it was his favorite. He spent a little bit too much time there and kind of got the Sean Kemp ism. But he'll be better than Vince Young.
Yeah. If you can keep him upright and you can give him weapons around him. Now, if you just expect him to carry you there, then
wasn't that the same thing? Wasn't that the same thing I was talking about? A quarterback coming out of Alabama a few years ago.
Yeah, and look what happened when you were able to keep him upright and gave him some weapons. He looked fantastic. About to make $250 million.
I'm not. I should ask Tyler about that. All right, let's take a break, Cleveland. Let's take a break and let's finish up our NBA discussion, and then I got some more NFL talk for us to go. Let's take a little break right here, and we'll come back. We'll finish up the show. Man, fans, I really appreciate you guys for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans podcast. Give yourself a round of applause. Reach out to Tyler if you give it a chance. Thank him for being a part of the show. Really cool guy and does great work for USA Today. Just an update, if for those of you, if you're watching the game, or you're not able to watch the game, OKC Thunder is up 115-86 over the New Orleans Pelicans. This is about how I expected the series to go. I didn't expect it. I was surprised that it was very close, and the Pelicans were a shot away from changing life for the Thunder. But now that the Thunder kind of had that close experience under their belt, and they can push that aside, they actually are doing kind of playing like we're supposed to play. SGA is looking like SGA looking like a MVP candidate that he was. Let me check on the numbers here, because obviously I've been doing the show with you guys. So let me check on those numbers here for the Thunder. Cleveland, the Thunder, if you didn't hear, if you haven't noticed, the Thunder are back to looking like they're supposed to look like, and they're up almost 40 points on 35 points on the Pelicans. Like essentially what we anticipated, right? Actually going into the series. SGA 33, 13 for 19. That efficiency is bananas, right? 3 for 5 from deep. 13 and 19. Chet Holmgren has his 9 for 13. Cleveland, 26 points. Then you have Jalen Williams at 10 for 17. I mean, these numbers are impressive. He's 10 for 17, 21 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Like, this is about what we expected from these guys, right?
No, that exceeds my expectations for them. I didn't expect for them to be nearly that offensively efficient in their second playoff game together. So hats off to them. Perhaps that scenario that I aforementioned may not come off quite that smoothly. It may just be, hey, we're just better than you guys, and no need to play around. And you guys don't got a big baby back there, with the Z in his head, waiting to come out and dunk on us. So, there's not a whole lot of resistance.
Yeah, I know you're not a big fan of him, but I think Point Zion is he gives. You talk about that dude, Cleveland. He's that dude for the New Orleans Pelicans. It's not Brandon Ingram. It's not CJ. It's not CJ. Not Trey Murphy. Not Herb Jones. He's that dude for the Pelicans. And if he's going off, then that emboldens everybody else, right? So you kind of have to recognize that, man. But back to what we were talking about with the Clippers. I'm going down and get a good look at what's going on with the Clippers in that Dallas Mavericks series for game 3 and 4. I'm gonna go down there and check that out. I'm gonna have my conversation with Ty Lue. I'm gonna check in with Zubac, and I know you don't in Cleveland. See, this is where we differ. Where you want to put it all on Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, the names on the marquee, right? The James Harden, the names, everybody on the marquee. It's the others, as Shaq likes to call them, that really makes the thing go. Because when Zubac balled out in game 1, they won that game easily, right? When Amir Coffey balled out in game 1, that game was easy for them guys. So that tells you that these guys are difference makers. Are you willing to agree with that, or still no? So again, I have better things to share with you about the series as it progresses on to game 3 and 4. But there's another series that we haven't spoken about. It's a 2-0 right now for the defending champs Denver Nuggets, and it's more than likely it's going to be 3-0 with some desperation. Boy, we're going to have some sweaty palms and some tight spinkers in Los Angeles. Now, the Clippers are going to be in Dallas. But the sweaty palms are going to be in that team that plays in the Kings Stadium, the Kings Arena, wearing the purple and gold. There's going to be some sweaty palms and some tight sphincters because that's more than likely going to be a sweep. Cleveland, what's your thoughts on that situation?
Could potentially be a sweep. They had 2 golden opportunities in Denver to get things done. They had some great opportunities in game 2, shot-wise, lead-wise. I was a little bit questionable with regards to kind of the time management. I thought that they should have been running a little bit more clock than they were. A player that I called the most important player in the NBA a few weeks ago, if you recall, Jamal Murray did Jamal Murray things, man. Hats off to him. Going back 0-2 doesn't look good.
And so I asked Tyler the question. I'm not sure if I got your response. And you said you didn't agree with the discussion that we had earlier in the week. Do you believe that LeBron James can defer to the other guys on his team? I don't believe. I don't. I think
he can.
I don't think he can. I don't think he can defer. And I'm not saying at the end of the game pass it to somebody else to make a shot like he did Mike Miller in their championship against OKC Thunder, or let somebody else take the shot. I mean, defer and let Austin Reeves and Anthony Davis be the decision maker in the last 5 minutes of the game. Well, that's what I mean by defer. Actually, can he play the third or fourth role on the team? I don't think he could do that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think talent-wise that he should feel comfortable deferring to anyone but Anthony Davis, and it depends on the circumstances of when he defers to Anthony Davis. I mean, there are certain times when, like Tyler was saying, and other people have been saying, Anthony Davis looks, absolutely unstoppable. And then there are times when he just falls into this weird, malaise where he's just out there, but it's not like he's demanding the ball. It's not like he is announcing his presence of authority. And so those are the times when LeBron has to kind of, take it back upon himself. But as far as, do you feel confident in, sometimes Austin Reeves situational, the point guard, not so much, Rui Hachimura, not so much. I mean, so where are you going with this? It's like, it has to be one of those two players. And, AD has to be in the right situation. He has to be in the right frame of mind, whereas LeBron is always in the right frame of mind. So why would you defer to anyone else?
I guess you'd be deferring because can LeBron carry this team to
No, he was never supposed to be carrying them this much. They were supposed to have a lot of other parts that were contributing to it, and they just haven't contributed at the level they're supposed to. It's this it's this new NBA, right? Where you see it with so many teams. They'll swing it, and someone will have a wide open shot, but you really don't want that person taking the wide open shot. The only reason they're taking it is because it's wide open, and percentage-wise, it's a better play, but you're not comfortable with Bryant taking these shots. You're not comfortable with some of these, Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, I know he's open and all, but I mean, it's like
there's a reason he's open.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, fair enough. I get your point, Cleveland. Now, fans, a little contentious week here this week. For those of you who are familiar with it, we have the website, voiceofthefans.org website is available for your viewing and reading pleasure. Okay. It houses all of our content from the podcast, and you can find it, get caught up to every podcast we've done from the last 2 years, I believe. It starts at 150 and we're almost 300, Cleveland. Almost 300, big guy. You can see that my YouTube page has a slew of videos. I need to add more, but it has a list of unique videos from my conversation with race car drivers, and they answer the question: are race car drivers athletes? I have that in there. I have my conversation with Daniel Cormier. I have that in there as well. So it's a lot of varied interviews I've done with some notable athletes as well. But the mainstay of the website, it hosts articles, recent sports news, and this particular week, an article was published that discusses the criteria for winning the NBA championship. And I got a kick out of this article. This is penned by Cleavon Steele, my co-host. He took some shots at me I thought that were unjust. I don't know that I appreciated the shots that were taken at me. And so I have to refute these shots that I was taking. First, Cleavon, I wanted to, and I'm gonna read a passage of this. Should I read the passage of this article first? I'm gonna read a passage of this article.
Okay, please do.
It goes into he breaks. I don't even know where to start. Like I can't. I don't feel like I can read a passage without reading the whole thing. But it's about the regular season is over, and it becomes what happened in the regular season becomes inconsequential for several reasons. First off, there's several hypothetical scenarios created by the media to capture the attention of NBA fans. Often storylines that imply random teams have the potential to win an NBA championship are nothing more than marketing techniques to entice the viewer and readers into thinking their favorite team has a chance to do something great. Secondly, the NBA regular season tends to give false sense of security. Fans, are you listening to this? Winning games against defending champions in October or victories against sub 500 teams in April is not accurate barometer of a future playoff success. And then he goes into categorizing this NBA playoffs are often comprised of teams that have star players who fit into one of four categories. Cleveland, you're agreeing with all this? All this sounds kosher to you? And he categorizes there's newcomers in the league, right? These players are good, perhaps even all-stars, have led their team into the playoffs for the first time in their career. He uses Paulo Banchero as an example. The usual suspects. These players have multiple playoff appearances, but have never shown the ability to carry their teams to an NBA Finals. He uses Jalen Brunson as an example, and even Luka Doncic is in this example. Now, this is you don't believe in Jalen Brunson. I think he's been in the league 4 years, and he's a usual spec.
He's been in the playoffs the last 3 seasons, Cam.
Yeah, okay, but how many years have you been in the league? I think he's been in the league 3 years, Cleveland.
Okay, so he's made the playoffs 3 consecutive years.
Luka Doncic. You have Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic in the same category, which is preposterous. The basketball legends. This is even more funny. The basketball legends. These players have led their teams to the brink of an NBA championship, but have always found ways to come up short. He uses Jason Tatum and Jimmy Butler as examples of this. Jason Tatum, again, I told you we're not talking about that team, right? We're not talking about that team because you have them as basketball legends. Jason Tatum
has been to 5 straight Eastern Conference Finals and an NBA Final.
A legend, I define legend differently.
But Jimmy Butler's been to 2 NBA Finals.
Okay. And then the basketball god. These are players who single-handedly put their team on their back to carry them to the promised land. These players hang banners, win MVPs, and are considered basketball royalty. In other words, that dude. Okay. He uses Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Milwaukee Bucks, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. Now, sir, both of these men that you mentioned as the basketball god have won championship. Uno. One. and you have them as basketball gods. Wouldn't
God.
basketball gods be? I would think that a basketball god would be given respectfully to a guy like Dwayne Wade, who has multiple championships.
He is a basketball god. He is a
teams.
basketball god, but he's not a current example of a basketball god. He's not currently playing. But yes, you're starting to get the gist of the criteria. Yes, he is a basketball god.
You use two guys who have one championship. Many could say that Giannis lucked up and won that one championship because something happened.
Game I saw, he went for 50 and 14 and shot 16 for 18 from the free throw line. Something he's never done.
Game in that one game, the series is a 4-game series.
So he put the team on his back and carried them to victory, almost single-handedly. 50 and 14.
Okay, then he goes into establishing the criteria. So then he gives me. I mean, I'm in this interesting. Fans, you got to check out this article. Voice of the Fans, voiceofthe.org. It's under sports news. This is the most recent article. You got to please do some homework this week. Read this article. Give us some feedback on what you think of this article. He breaks down. He doesn't want to go into stats. He says, I don't want to go into stats. But then he breaks down the champions, right? Saying 26 champions. Another way of saying this is that only 6 players.
Now let's do it like this, fans. Over the last 35 years, 6 players, that being Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Steph Curry, LeBron James, Hakeem Olajuwon have won 80% of the championships, 26 of the championships. Now, another way of saying that is that the first and the second greatest shooting guard of all time, the greatest power forward of all time, the most versatile player of all time, on anybody's list, one of the top 5 point guards, and Hakeem Olajuwon. So not just some guys.
So he goes on with this ironclad criterion for winning NBA championship. My condolences to the Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks.
I didn't say Boston Celtics.
They're the first team mentioned.
No.
They are the very first team mentioned. My condolences to the Boston Celtics, Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers, Orlando Magic, Miami Heat, Philadelphia 76ers, Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks, Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves, Dallas Mavericks, New Orleans Pelicans, and the Sacramento Kings. Your participation in the 2024 playoffs is an exercise in futility concerning winning an NBA champion, and you will not win an NBA championship this season. He goes on, fans. He goes on to say, I've been trying to educate our host, Mr. Cameron Buford, on the criteria for winning an NBA or to win an NBA championship. Yet Buford believes that such frivolous things as coaching, depth, hustle plays, defensive schemes, home court advantage are more critical than superstar dominance. And then he says he hopes this article serves as an educational tool, explaining this is not the case. Fans, here's my problem.
Fans, I also go on to mention, not to cut you off, Cam,
okay. Okay.
All of those aforementioned teams,
try to clean it up,
except for the Detroit Pistons and the Toronto Raptors, have had a player on their team that has been the most valuable player.
That's totally irrelevant. That's totally irrelevant. I'm not sure where that's relevant here.
And that all of those teams that have won the championship
Not
had one of
relevant.
the 75 greatest players on them.
You left your Lakers. The Lakers were left off your list of potential winners winning the championship this season. Why?
I didn't leave them off.
You didn't include them. I just read. I read the article.
Those are the teams that had no chance of winning it.
My condolences to the Boston Celtics,
If I put
Cleveland
Boston on there,
Cavaliers,
then
New York Knicks,
to
Indiana
JT, I
Pacers.
sincerely apologize because as an NBA, as a basketball legend, he has an opportunity to make that ascent to basketball god status. So far, he hasn't shown the propensity to do that, but he still has kind of an outside chance. Those other teams have no chance. I did not say the Lakers had no chance. They have the King on their team.
Well, the King is 0-2. The King is 0 for 10.
Okay, but he's a basketball god by definition.
I brought up D Wade earlier. Yeah, D Wade was he not that guy? He has multiple.
He was. He has 3 championships.
Squads.
He has 3 championships,
squads.
And he's a basketball god. Absolutely.
I don't know, fans. I need your help, fans. Only was Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen. Were those? Well, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, were they basketball gods?
Yes. Kevin Garnett won an MVP, and they won the championship.
Dirk Nowitzki wasn't a basketball god until
Dirk Nowitzki won an MVP, and he's the 4th highest scoring player in the history of basketball, and he's on the 75 greatest. So he meets all the criteria for being a basketball god.
Is Kawhi Leonard a basketball god?
2-time Finals MVP, and he's on the 75 greatest.
Is he? That was that? I mean, you gave me some credentials there. Is Kawhi Leonard a basketball god?
He is a basketball god.
Man, does this make sense to you guys? That's what I want to know. Does this criteria make sense to you guys, or I'm the only one over here aghast?
You're the only one still confused because there's nothing to be confused about. Every champion has the same criteria, less the 2004 Detroit Pistons. Every team has this characteristic. There's not one team that doesn't.
Fans, I'd love to get your feedback on this. Hit us up at _ voice of the fans, at _ voice of the fans. Check out the article at voiceofthefans.org. Cleveland's criteria for winning NBA champion, and let me know where you stand.
It's ironclad, fans. I highly recommend you reading it. It will educate and explain why you have to have that dude to win one. It's not just me saying this. The numbers completely 100% bear this out.
Do the Suns have that dude?
They have Kevin Durant, so they have an opportunity to do it. They're a little bit old and they're playing a little bit out of sorts, so it probably won't happen. But there's at least an opportunity for it to happen.
So the Clippers have that guy. Why are you so hard on the Clippers?
The same reason I'm hard on the Phoenix Suns. I mean, just because you have that guy doesn't mean that you necessarily will do that, but you do have to have that guy to do it. Really good teams don't win it. Teams that with lots of all-stars don't win it. Teams that had a really good, successful regular season don't win it.
Anything else you want to add? Because I think the fans are still kind of dumbfounded right now. Anything else you want to add to the article?
I want to repeat this. The greatest shooting guard in Michael Jordan, the second greatest shooting guard in Kobe Bryant, the greatest power forward in Tim Duncan, the most versatile player the league has ever seen in LeBron James. By anyone's argument, one of the top 5 point guards to ever pick up a basketball in Steph Curry and Hakeem Olajuwon have won 80% of the championships from 90 to now. That's astounding.
And moving right along, friends. Moving right along. You can find Cleveland. Where can they find your information?
At Cleveland Wonder on Twitter, Cleveland still on Instagram, Cleveland Wonder on TikTok.
I don't appreciate the shots being taken. All right, and we're going.
Well, I don't appreciate you always saying that there's other factors involved. I try to say no, you have to be that dude. You're like, no. I mean, you can go, pull up the whiteboard and draw some stuff up and have it happen. Talk about coaching. I mean, the first person you would mention would be Phil Jackson, right? With those 11 championships. 6 with Mike and Scotty, 3 with Shaq and Kobe, 2 with Kobe and Powell.
And Pop.
And who?
And Greg Popovich.
5 with Tim Duncan.
Is that a problem? So if
no,
you had,
it's not. It's not. But I mean, if you're gonna tell me like it's just this
But
it's like no,
say,
you had the greatest power forward that's ever played basketball on your team.
But you at the same time want to say a coach like Frank Vogel, who did lead the Los Angeles Lakers to the last championship, is a nobody, and now he has he won a championship with the Lakers, and now he has Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Kevin Durant, and you're saying that he's going to be a nobody because he can't do it, it's not enough for them.
Yeah, he's caused a regression in the team. He hasn't like done anything to make them better, and that's a shame.
Fans, read the article, please. Read the article and let us know. Do some homework. Let us know what you think of this article. We're going to go to This Week in History segment, Cleveland. This Week in History, April 23rd, 1872, Charles E. Ray Charlotte E. Ray graduated from Howard Law School, becoming the first female African-American lawyer. April 23rd, 1951, students attending Moulton High School in Prince George County, Virginia, led a walk out to protest separate and equal school facilities, helping prepare the passing of the 1954 landmark desegregation law in the United States. I wasn't familiar with that. Were you familiar with the Moulton High School?
No, the Brown versus Board of Education, but not the walkout.
April 24, 1972, James M. Roger Jr., became the first African American to become National Teacher of the Year, is honored in a ceremony at the White House. March 24, 1944, United Negro College Fund, the UNCF, is the oldest, most successful minority higher education assistance organization in the United States. That began in 1944. 1903, April 27, 1903, Maggie L. Walker named president of Richmond's Luke Bank and Trust Company and become the first African American woman to head a bank. April 27, 1993, all of the members of Zambia national football team died en route to Dakar, Senegal, to play in the 1994 World qualifying match against Senegal. Kind of vaguely remember that. You recall that scenario?
Vaguely.
For April 25th, 1950, Charles Chuck Cooper became the first African American drafted by an NBA team. Cleveland. What team was he drafted by?
Celtics.
Yes. April 19, 1978, Max Robinson becomes first African American March 23rd, 2007, Barbara Hillary becomes first African American female to reach the North Pole. And April 24, 1994, Cleveland, David Robinson scored 71 points to win the scoring title. Who did he beat out?
Oh, he put that on your Clippers, Cam.
No, I was like, who did he beat? What person did he beat? I like how you.
He beat Shaquille O'Neal to win that.
All right, Cleveland. Some interesting talk. Things that went on this week that we're going to touch on. Bill Belichick, Cleveland, agrees to join the Manning cast this season. Will Bill Belichick get you to tune in to the Manning cast?
No. That sounds even more disjointed than it already is. I mean, Bill is not like a warm personality to begin with, and it's not like Peyton and Eli are like professional broadcasters. Yeah, that sounds very convoluted. A lot of people are tripping over themselves. So no,
your hate.
Still gonna watch Buck and Aikman.
Your hate is ridiculous. Cleveland, Reggie Bush is going to get his Heisman Trophy back. What's your thoughts on this situation? The NCAA said now that we've seen an error of our ways and going to award Reggie Bush his Heisman Trophy back. What's your thoughts on this?
I've never understood why he wanted it back. He admitted that they paid his parents $3,000 a month and housed them for free for 3 years. That's completely illegal.
Okay.
And during the time that they did that, he just happened to be so good that they won the Heisman, but you can't really do that. I mean, it's an improper benefit.
So what's your thoughts on this? That he should.
I think
fighting for it.
I think there's two things happening. I think they caved to public pressure, and two, they've seen that the way the landscape of college football has changed, that perhaps they should have allowed for that, and that wasn't that big of a concession, but it was still a concession. I mean, it was ridiculous at the time.
Well, I agree with you. I certainly agree with you. And that was your guy Pete. By the way.
That was the University of Southern California doing that.
Was your guy Pete.
The only reason they found out, Cameron, is because he backed out of his agreement with the agent. That he was like, he told the agent he was going to sign with him after all of this, and then at the last second he said, "Nah, psych, just playing." And the agent was like, "Oh, no."
Who was the head coach of the team that Reggie Bush played for?
I believe that was Pete Carroll.
So, like I said, that was your guy Pete, acting like he knew nothing about the scenario.
I'm not sure he did.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't. And it just so happens that he left in proper timing to go to Seattle.
Opportunity presented itself, Cameron. There was an opening up here in Seattle, and thank goodness we're better off for it.
You not believing Pete knew anything about what the improprieties that were going on at USC is just your head is in the sand. That's all that is.
I can't say for sure. I wasn't there, Cam. I was,
Yeah, your head.
There's a lot of moving parts to it. And like I said, the agent is the one that broke the story to begin with, so no one would have known at all until the agent came out and said something about it.
Well, finally, the agent actually found an honest bone in his body. Good thing for the agent. So being that the NCAA is wanting to go and make right their wrongdoings, should Michigan now be able to hang their Fab Five banners?
Yeah.
Should Jim Boeheim of my Syracuse Orange be granted his 100 win or have his 101 wins restored?
Who was the improper benefits going to that took 101 wins away?
Well, they said he was trying to, he might have been your guy Carmelo came up there and had some palms greased and
perhaps
had a few more shoes than he needed.
Talking about all improper benefits. Should
Rick Pitino? Should we look at Rick?
And Louisville get theirs back? Does UConn and Jim Calhoun get theirs back? Yeah, you're opening up the floodgates, man.
If you want to say that the only reason that Reggie Bush got in trouble is because the agent, he didn't sign with the agent, and the agent went and told off.
Right.
So the NCAA says, okay, Mr. Agent and Reggie Bush, here's your trophy back. Now, do the Fab Five deserve to have their banners hung back up?
I mean, they're not championship banners, but
now we want to look at them differently. Everything's not on the up and up.
I mean, whatever banners they take away, sure, give them back. But I mean, they're not championship banners, is all I said. This is a Heisman Trophy that they're giving back.
I mean, that was so. If I was Reggie Bush, they would have had to send the feds after me like they did Trump in Mar-a-Lago or after they did P. Diddy and Beverly Hills and Miami Beach. Like, I'm not boxing anything up and sending it to you guys. If you guys send some people after me where I have to, hand it over, or else I'm going to jail, that might have been the only way you guys got it. I'm not sending anything back to you.
I think the part that is like the most ridiculous is that they act as if there's like some innocence here, like he didn't do it. It's like he absolutely did it. Everybody knows he absolutely did it. Everybody knows it was against the rules when he did it. So why do you get to keep yours? And I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's always been strange to me that he's been like on this. He got wronged. They should have never came and took it. It's like, that's just weird.
I mean, well, that's kind of what Pete was pumping up. Like, we're the good guys here, and that should have never been done. That's all you're saying. And then you want to act like Pete didn't know anything. That's essentially what you're saying.
I don't know what Pete knew, but I know that what actually came out of all of this is that rules were broken, and there's no refuting that. So, but hey, congratulations to him for getting it back. Good for you.
Talking about no refuting, there was no refuting the whooping that Ryan Garcia put on Devin Haney.
Woo! Cam, I watched every minute of that fight.
Did you?
I did.
I'm impressed. Cleveland took a Saturday night out to watch some boxing. Fans, I'm impressed by this. Tell us what you thought to that. Tell us what you thought of that fight, Cleveland.
Man, I thought they should have stopped it in the 7th round. I thought there was about 3 or 4 knockdowns that didn't even get counted.
Yeah, the ref was helping Haney out, wasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it was like, the ref was so clearly in this dude's back pocket. And I've talked about this so many times that boxing is lightweight fixed, man. Like, it's a slant towards the more marketable fighter. I mean, the ref was doing some things like that was just way out of pocket. And then the round that he did knock him down, was it once or twice? And then he took a point away from Garcia that round.
Well, he did hit him after he hit him on the break. He did hit him after the break.
But he didn't count any of the other 3 knockdidowns that happened. He gave Haney way too much time to recover after every single one. It was just crazy.
To your point, he didn't never take a point away from Haney for hugging and holding him. He took away the point from Garcia. He hit him after the break, but he didn't get a warning. At least sometimes they warn, hey, don't do that again. If you do that again, I'm gonna take a point away. It was never a warning for Garcia for hitting after the break, but he did hit him after the break.
That referee was doing everything in his power to have Haney win that fight.
Yeah, he was helping Haney out big time. Should there be a rematch, Cleveland? Like one of the reasons we haven't seen a rematch of the Crawford Spence fight is because it was so dominant.
Well, I mean, how is this any different? I mean, this was awfully dominant, man.
It was very dominant.
Beat him from pillar to post, man. Like I said, there's like 3 knockdowns that didn't even count. What's the point of running that back?
Because Garcia didn't make the weight.
Because you like Devin Haney. That's the only reason.
It doesn't have anything with my like for getting like or dislike for Devin Haney. Garcia did not make the weight. And stupidly, Garcia bet the day before the weigh-in that he bet $500,000 for every pound that he would be over. Ridiculously. And so that cost him, even before they walked into the ring, that cost him $1.5 million because he bet 500 pounds. He bet $500,000.
What does that have to do with there being a rematch, and why would that be competitive? He beat the snot piss out of Devin Haney.
But he didn't. Had he made weight, he'd be the champion today.
Okay.
He didn't make weight, and so he's not the champion. He didn't earn the belts. So he's kind of quasi the people's champion, if you will, because now, I mean, we can't unsee the whooping that he put on him, right?
No.
We can't unsee that. But he doesn't have the belts because he didn't make weight. So should there be a rematch where he actually comes in at weight? And I don't want to say a fair fight is not with the term I want to use, but a legit fight because now he actually made weight.
Nah, man, we don't need to see that again.
Wow.
Let Haney flounder out there with all his belts, and everybody knows that at any time he can get his ass whooped.
Wow. Let him. Wow. One thing I found very surprising is how after the fight, Haney said he slept on his left hand. Haney, dog. During the whole lead up to the fight, that's what you've been saying, that he only has one punch. He only has one weapon. And you sleep on the one weapon that you admit he has? Like,
didn't read his own scouting report, apparently.
So what that told me is when even more so the ass whooping he took, is what that told me is that Haney needs a new trainer. His dad can't be the trainer. You know, there's trainers that like, here's an analogy, Cleveland, that you're not going to agree with or you're not going to buy into. Maybe I don't have an example to give you, but I'm sure this has happened in the tennis world. A coach can coach you to the world championship, but can't coach you to win the world championship. You follow me?
No, because it's a terrible analogy because he has all the belts.
So a new coach is not going to make a difference. I mean, because
how is it going to make him any better? He's already what? How many belts he kept telling me leading up to the fight how many belts he had and how Garcia had talked himself into the fight. He didn't really deserve to be there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I said it multiple times.
Seven knockdowns later, not so much.
Wow. You don't even want to see the rematch. You don't think, where does Haney go from here? You just say Haney just keep floundering around and
there'll be a contender that wants some belts. He'll easily win that fight, and then he'll easily win his next fight, and then maybe there'll be someone around that's a contender and he won't win that fight. Pretender.
You call him pretender. Wow.
Pretender like Errol Spence. Pretender.
Whoa. Well, Cleveland is doing. Cleveland is taking shots at everybody tonight.
I mean, it's not me taking shots. They're the ones that got in the ring and had those performances. That wasn't me.
So you don't want to see the rematch? You want Haney to go play around with some other non-champions, and maybe you work your way back to the. Where does Ryan Garcia go from here? Do you want to now see Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis again?
Oh yes, let's do that. Let's do that again. Sure.
So now you want to see that?
Yeah, I'm okay with seeing that. I mean, because he's already got it and destroyed the dude that you said, "Ooh, everybody's so afraid of." Yeah,
no, I never said that. I never said they were afraid of him.
Oh my gosh!
I never said they were afraid of Devin Haney. That I never
said. The tape of the way you were so enamored with Devin Haney. You didn't even understand why this was a fight.
I did. He talked. I will say it, and I will say it again. Ryan Garcia talked his way into this fight like he talked his way into the fight with Tank Davis. They shouldn't have been fighting. Yes, I will admit. I will gladly or proudly admit.
See, you can't say that they shouldn't have been fighting because when they fought, you see what happened.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah,
this is what happens when your 5-time world champion walks into the thing and gets beat up badly.
How does he say he slept on his left hand though? Like, how did you said Devin Haney that was the only punch he had, and you slip on the fight? You slept on the left hand.
That's like saying you slept on a Deontay Wilder right hand over the top. It's like, wow, how you gonna sleep on that?
He said that. Come on, man. Come on, Devin Haney. So May 4th, in 2 weeks, we have Canelo Alvarez fighting Jaime Munguia on Cinco de Mayo weekend in Las Vegas. Are you tuning in to see Jaime Munguia versus Canelo Alvarez?
I might miss that one. Yeah, I never.
I mean, I'm surprised you tuned in for Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. I'm surprised you tuned in. Who got you to tune in? Wifey got you to tune into the fight?
No, I just happened to be at a place that happened to have the event on. I was like, oh, okay.
Okay. So you didn't seek the fight out. You weren't.
No, it wasn't planned. It just happened to be on the television that we were watching at the establishment I was at.
Okay, well that's.
I was like, oh, okay, well let's watch this. Let's watch this whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Cleveland. Caitlin Clark. Did you hear about Caitlin Clark signing a new deal with Nike?
Yeah.
8 years, $28 million. I mean, it sounds kind of light, but this is the first signature shoe. I was surprised to hear that.
Doesn't Sabrina Ionescu have a signature shoe?
I thought it would. A Nike would have had a signature shoe for a female by now. Like Sue Bird, your Tarasi up in UConn didn't have a signature shoe.
I could have swore Sabrina Ionescu had one, but
Okay,
I mean, probably not as lucrative of a contract or a shoe contract as this one, which obviously it is. Yeah, she's capitalizing on her popularity, striking while the iron is hot.
Yeah, I guess so. Cleveland, give me your thoughts, man, on these rap beefs. We had obviously Drake went at Kendrick twice now. Drake uses it now. The first time he went at him, we had the J. Cole situation, who bowed out of the beef with Kendrick. Drake goes at Kendrick. And then the second time he uses Pac and Snoop AI to go at Kendrick. We have Rick Ross going at Drake. We have Quavo versus Chris Brown. They going at each other. Cleveland, what's going on with these rap beefs, man?
I tell you what, of all those things you just aforementioned, man, Chris Brown, my goodness, shut it down. So cold-blooded.
Yeah, did you hear Quavo?
I was not expecting that from him. And what I got from him was, elevated his status. Wow, way up there.
Leave him alone.
Leave him alone. My goodness. He might have ruined that man's career permanently.
There was some animosity in there too. It wasn't just wasn't beef on wax. It sounded like there was something personal going in there.
I didn't know Chris had it in him, and man, he let it all out. That dude spoke that bear. He sure did. He sure did.
Yeah. He opened up a can. He definitely opened a can.
Whoa.
Like I said, they sound like there was something personal in there.
It was way past what those other cats were doing. I'm just saying, way past that.
That was interesting. That was interesting. I mean, is this a revival of hip hop? Is this a revival of rap? I mean,
it's hip hop is laid somewhat dormant with a few people kind of hovering around the top, and everyone else kind of just trying to get some popularity, some likes, and some streaming. But the top dogs are kind of coming out and trying to do a little bit, But I think it's mostly posturing, except for the Chris Brown thing. The rest of those guys are kind of like already. I don't want to say above it and just kind of doing it to do it, but none of that seems overly personal to me, not nearly as much as the Chris Brown thing.
Okay, Cleveland. It's time. The first time all season long. We're April 24th, so we're nearly a month into the season. And Cleveland, your Seattle. Let me confirm this again before I mention this. Oh well,
it may have been premature. They were not winning the last I looked.
They're 12-12. They're at 500. So I'm gonna give them the nod because this is the first time they're 6-4 of their last 10 games. They're right at 500. Cleveland, they're one game behind Texas in the West. Go ahead for the Mariners minute, Cleveland. Now I was kind of happy they were over 500. I was trying to give them some praise. I was trying to give Seattle Mariners some praise. Although I think the high school team should be playing in that fancy T-Mobile Stadium, and I think the Seattle Mariners should be banished to Portland or Vancouver because they've been a poor representative of the city of Seattle. Cleveland, there's a few of you guys who think otherwise. Go ahead and give your Mariners minute.
Well, fans, good news is they have the best pitching staff in baseball. Bad news is they still can't score any runs, and they continue to strand runners on base. And as long as they continue to have that problem, they will continue to have problems winning lots of games. So although they're kind of in a good place right now, Houston is getting healthier. They still have the Rangers to contend with. So it's by no means smooth sailing from here, but I do like the way the pitching staff looks, and Julio's starting to get a little bit hotter, but they still need a big bat in the middle of their lineup, which they don't have. So,
come the trade deadline, Cleveland. I know we're ways away from the trade line. We're not even near the halfway mark. But will they be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline?
They will continue to do what Jerry DiPoto does. He always tries to find some needle in a haystack, some player that no one else has ever heard of that he thinks he can turn around. They'll come here and they can, learn the Mariner way and, be a contributor.
The Mariner way?
Yeah, I mean, they have this thing about controlling the strike zone and, seeing more pitches and kind of, wearing down pitching over time. But they just need a big bat that's consistent in the lineup. And like I've been talking about since October, I mean, if you have an owner that's talking about his financial situation, that's never a good thing. So the answer to your question is they'll be neither, or perhaps they'll be buyers, but on a very low level because they can't afford anything. They continue to treat the team like they play in a small market, and they don't.
I've been watching sports since the late 70s. I've never heard one person ever say the Mariner way. That phrase has never been uttered in my life.
Okay, so maybe I should have said the Mariner philosophy with regards to hitting, which to me hasn't worked. So it's just kind of a fallacy that if you just see pitches in a certain area or a certain zone and that's all you're looking for, and you don't swing at pitches outside the plate, it's like that's just not realistic. Pitches come too fast. They break, they slide,
So what's your thoughts on Jackson Holiday going 1 for 30 for the Orioles? Should they stick with them or send them back down?
You can't stick with him too much longer. I mean, he's 1 for 30. I mean, you're just crushing his confidence. It's unfortunate because you're crushing his confidence both ways. If he goes 1 for 50 and you send him back down, it's like, man, I'm not a major league player. If you send him 1 for 30, it's like, oh man, he didn't give me a chance. Like, that was my chance and I blew it. So it's like, what do you do here? You hope that he can turn it around, but the Orioles are such that you can't wait forever.
Anything else intriguing about the baseball season for you thus far?
The Oakland A's have not been as bad as we were previously led to believe they would be. They're treading water.
Well, because the White Sox has taken that mantle, haven't they?
They have not been good, no.
And I mean, do you get the A's? Were they a bad team, or were they just kind of playing in a badly run team? The players, right?
Both. They don't have any talent because they keep trading their talent because they don't want to spend any money, and that talent is has been. I don't want to say that talent's been mediocre, and so they just banded together because they've been going through so much stuff, as a team, playing in minor league, stadiums and Sacramento and, the laughing stock of the league, so to speak. And then, it's very much an us against the world mentality, I'm sure.
Right. Well, that mentality kind of pulls the guys together and kind of force them to become a unit, right?
I would think so.
Barnstorming.
Yeah, but I think they're definitely overachieving with regards to all of this, though.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah, the White Sox. I mean, yeah. Cleveland. Want to thank you, fans, for tuning into the Voice of the Fans podcast. Let's give our man Tyler Dragon a thumbs up again. Give him a round of applause for tuning in. Make sure you guys check out USA Today. Check out USA Today for you can find Tyler Dragon's work, NFL reporter. Give you some good content on USA Today. But that's Mr. Tyler Dragon. You can find his contact information there as well. Fans, I would also encourage you to check out the article, voiceofthefans.org. Please do some homework and read the article and let us know what you think. Let us know
Point out any of the flaws in what was written in that article. Thanks, Booth.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in, big guy. Give yourself a round of applause. And also Barry for tuning in as well. Thank you guys for tuning
Appreciate
in.
that, Dan.
Listening in. Check out the article, voiceofthefans.org. Under sports news, you'll be able to see the article, Cleveland's criteria for winning an NBA championship. Let us know if you agree with that or not. We will leave the show as we do Cleveland each and every week with a quote. Here's a quote that I have for this week. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. Cleveland. One more time for the people in the back. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. And that's Buddha. So if you think it, if you could see it, like my man Deontay Wilder said earlier, if you could see it, you can become it. If you think it, it can happen. Fans, it's up to you to make some changes, make the changes that you see fit. It's up for you to go off trace after your dreams. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. So if you're in a perfect situation, you have no changes to make. You can end up like Devin Haney, get knocked out, or you can think you could think about the positive side and end up like Ryan
Please
Garcia.
don't ever end up like Devin Haney. That's a tough place to be.
Man, and I for sure I was 100%. I didn't even consider going to the fight in Brooklyn, New York. I didn't even I did consider it. I elected not to go to the fight because I expected it to be a boring fight. I didn't expect it to be. I didn't expect to see what we saw, and I figured I tuned into it from home. There was no reason for me to go. But Ryan Garcia, I mean, he might draw me out next time. Depending on who he's fighting, it might be worth a plane ride. So, fan, thank you guys for tuning in to the Voice of the Fans podcast. We really appreciate it. I asked you to tell a friend about the Voice of the Fans podcast. Share the podcast if you like what you hear, if you enjoy what you see, however you're watching, wherever you're watching from. And I will leave you guys with this. Cleveland, thank you for making our voice your choice.